Welcome to the ladies' room. This is your girl, Ashley Michelle, and I have the squad here today. We have Mrs. Understanding, Mrs. Cannon Hill.
Hey.
We have Mr. Darwin Hill. We have a special guest, Latanya. Welcome, Latanya. How are you?
Hello, I'm well.
So once again, welcome to the ladies' room. For those of you who do not know, we come to you every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we talk about it all in the ladies' room. We talk about dating and marriage. We talk about love. We talk about sex sometimes. We talk about children and parenting. We talk about health. We talk about everything and anything pertaining to ladies. All right. We air every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We used to air on Tuesdays, and our new date and time is 7 p.m. Central. All right. You can also find us on Facebook at the Ladies Room group chat. The Ladies Room group chat. All right. So go ahead. We can continue the conversation over there. All right. And we also have Mrs. Jovo with us. Hey, Jovo.
Hello.
All right. So I know that over the weekend we had Mother's Day, and unfortunately we couldn't do a show to celebrate Mother's Day, but we're here. And how did you guys enjoy your Mother's Day?
This my trifecta part of the year. Mother's Day, wedding anniversary, and birthday, all within the next 2 months. So this is my favorite time of the year.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I have something a little special for you ladies.
What?
Has something that he would like to say to you guys. All right. So here he is. There's Henry.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello,
Henry.
everyone.
Hello.
I'm just gonna sing a quick song for you guys.
Aww.
Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear the music?
We can.
I can.
There goes my heart beating, 'cause you are the reason I'm losing my sleep. Please come back now. And there goes my mind racing, and you are the reason my heart keeps bleeding, and I'm hopeless now. And I climb every mountain, and I swim every ocean just to be with you and fix what I've broken. Oh, 'cause I need you to see that you are the reason. And there goes my mind racing, 'cause you are the reason. Then my heart keeps bleeding, and I need you now. And if I can turn back the clock, I make sure the light defeated the dark. I'd spend every hour of every day keeping you safe. And I climb every mountain, and I swim every ocean just to be with you and fix what I broken. Oh, 'cause I need you to see that you are the reason. Whoa, Come a little closer now. Come a little closer now. Come a little closer. I need you to hold me tonight. Oh, 'cause I climb every mountain and I swim every ocean just to be with you and fix what I broken. Oh, 'cause I need you to see that you are the reason. Thank you so much.
Oh,
thank you. That was so good. You sounded
Thank
so
you.
good. That was so nice. Oh, look at you, Ashley, with the surprises.
I just
Thank
thought I could do a little
you.
special for the mothers on the screen tonight. Thank you, Henry. Can you go ahead and share a little bit about yourself, like your career, what you're up to, and you can share your Instagram as well.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Henry Key. I am currently a junior in college. I attend Central Michigan University. I am a double major in social work and psychology. And yeah, singing is just something that I so happen to know how to do, and I do it like in my free time. So yeah, and so if anyone wants to keep up with me, you can follow my Instagram at Henry Key underscore. That's HENRYKEY underscore. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Henry. We appreciate you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was very sweet. That was very nice. Yes,
I'm
that
a
was so
crybaby
good.
in real life. I am.
That was such a good surprise.
I'm a crybaby in real life. Like, they made Hallmark Channel for me.
All right. I just wanted to do that. I know that we couldn't have a show on Mother's Day, but happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
So, Latanya was going to be with us to join. She's going to come back, but we have some really, really great topics for tonight. And I want us to go ahead and jump right into the very first topic. All right. So, that first topic that we have is fertility, women who struggle to have children. All right. So, I have a few stats here. And Latanya is going to be with us to share her personal story with fertility. But some of the stats are about 9% of men and 11% of women of reproductive age experience fertility problems in the United States. Okay. Also, in 1/3 of infertile couples, the problem is with men. And 1/3 of infertile couples, the problem can't actually be identified or is with both the man and the woman. Okay, so that leaves 1/3 of a couple's problems with infertility to lie in women. Okay. So we all know that women, as we get older, have fewer eggs. We're born with as many eggs as we can ever have, right? And that can be anywhere between 1 million and 3 million. And by the time we hit puberty, I'm sorry, I can't talk today. By the time we hit puberty, we have about 300 to 400,000 eggs, okay? And as we age, our eggs start to become less healthy. Some of them don't mature, and we start to lose a lot of, or they die, and they're reabsorbed into our bodies. We all know that one egg is released and flows through our fallopian tubes to be fertilized potentially every month, right? And it's really a wonder that any woman ever gets pregnant, right? And so fertility can be a struggle for many, many people, okay? And we're actually going to spend a segment of this show talking about male fertility because, as you heard some of those statistics, men's infertility is 1/3. It's the cause of why couples can't have children or can't conceive a child in 1/3 of the cases, right? But right now we're going to talk about women's fertility. All right. So we have Latanya with us. Hi, Latanya.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here to share my story. Are there questions, or you just want me to
Yeah,
just?
we have questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So Latanya, from my understanding, you are a mom, right?
I am.
You're a mom, and you and your partner are trying to conceive or have tried to conceive. Is that the case?
Yes, we've gone through fertility treatments to conceive our to conceive three children. One is living. Two we lost in early birth.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So can you just tell us a little bit about your fertility journey? Like, how long were you trying before you realized that you were having a struggle?
Well, they say medically you have to be trying for a year before they will diagnose you as infertile or having fertility issues.
Right.
And so we were trying for a year, and we weren't getting pregnant. So we got tested, and so the first is they try to do the least invasive thing as possible, which is they did an IUI, which is an intrauterine insemination, where they kind of like time your ovulation and then try to connect, like, I don't want to, for lack of a better term, like turkey baster. That you come to the office and they inseminate your partner's semen or your semen of choice or whatever, and they kind of do it that way. And so we were able to conceive during that once, and then we got to about 23 weeks, and I went and I went into labor. Well, my water broke, and so we had Kennedy at 23 weeks, which is not a real viable age. So she lived for about a month, and then we tried again. We ended up spontaneously getting pregnant after her, and we were told it was a fluke when I had my water bag ruptured, and I went into labor with her. There was no diagnosis as what caused the labor or what caused the early birth. And so then we spontaneously got pregnant after her, and it happened. And the same thing happened again.
So that second time you guys were pregnant, it happened naturally?
Right. We got spontaneously pregnant after Kennedy.
Okay.
And the plan was to utilize a stitch that they usually put in at about, I guess, 18 or 20 weeks.
Okay.
A stitch in your lower part of your cervix so that you don't have that opening again. And so I didn't make it to that point again. And so we had another early birth. And so when my mother and I, we were just looking into research about what's going on, and what we determined, or what doctors didn't want to call it, was I had an incompetent cervix. So once the baby got to a certain weight, my cervix would give away and open. And so we found a doctor that does trans-abdominal cerclages, which, instead of waiting until 18 or 20 weeks, putting in that stitch and potentially having to be on bed rest for the rest of your pregnancy, because it's lower on the cervix, they will go in and put it up at the top of your cervix through surgery. So that prevents, so I could not have, when I did get pregnant, I would not be able to have a vaginal birth.
Okay.
Because the stitch is at the top of my cervix.
Okay.
And so after we found Dr. Haney at University of Chicago, we were ecstatic. We had the surgery, we had the cerclage put in, and then we also then again struggled getting pregnant. I'm sorry, my little person is trying to come in. Yes.
Having
So
babies.
after we had problems getting pregnant again after I got the what we call the TAC, trans-abdominal cerclage. We ended up doing IVF. So we did that. And we were successful first round, which was a blessing, because I know some people go through several rounds before they're able to be successful with IVF. it's an endurance of its own with the hormones and the injections and the doctor visits and the time off and just that. So we were blessed to get pregnant the first time, and so I had a healthy pregnancy, no problems, no issues. I was nervous during that pregnancy a lot, trying to make sure I could trust my body and trust this cerclage that was put in. But I had no issues. We delivered at 38, 39 weeks via C-section. And he was born healthy. And everything was good. And I had to find a doctor that was aware of the cerclage also. So I ended up finding an OB who worked under the doctor who does that procedure in order to work with me through my pregnancy, which was great. So that journey was a long journey. That was we started at 30. I was 35. I had my Caden, who is my oldest, who's 6, my healthy son, at 40. Okay. So that was a 5-year journey. And then we debated back and forth whether or not we were I debated with my husband because I wanted I wanted my son to have a sibling. I think my husband was kind of worn out with the whole process and the journey. He was just like, he didn't want to be on pins and needles again because he had been so many times before. And I was trying to respect his time and process, but I also wanted my child to have a sibling. I didn't want him to be the only child. And so once we came to agreement, we started to look into fertility again, but we got spontaneously pregnant. We got pregnant naturally with Leah. So that was a blessing, and that was another healthy pregnancy as well.
Okay. So you were able to, so your issue wasn't conceiving or having enough eggs or healthy eggs.
It kind of was because I was older in the process.
Okay.
The only times we got pregnant naturally were after a birth because you're more fertile at that time. At least that's what we're told. That's what I was told. So every time I would deliver, I would get pregnant naturally right after that. But then once I had the surgery, it took a while. And because of my age and the egg capacity, we wanted to kind of utilize some assistance and some support with IVF.
Okay. Latanya, I don't know. We hear a little bit of static. We're not sure if it's coming from us or if it's coming from...
It might be me.
Okay.
I'm on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it'll help. Probably not. If it's static, it's probably just a reception issue. But maybe just try turning your mic down. Maybe that'll help. I'm not sure. But thank you. I'm listening to your story, and it sounds like a few different things. You were a little older, so you were 35. Do you mind sharing your husband's age?
My husband is 2 years older than me, so he was 37.
Okay. And we're actually going to talk a lot about male fertility later. A lot of people think that male fertility is not an issue when it comes to having children, but men's sperm and the health of their sperm actually does decrease over time. And we have a few stats about that. And then and 1/3 of the couples that are trying to conceive but have problems, it stems from male infertility, not female infertility. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's something to definitely think about, because we tend to just focus on women's fertility, right? And so if you're a woman and you're out here trying to have a baby and you're like, well, what is going on? Why can't I do it? It might not be you. It could actually be your husband, your partner. And your husband was a little bit older too. Men's fertility does not decline as quickly as ours, but their fertility definitely does decline, with age. And after 40, it becomes significantly more challenging for a man to actually impregnate a woman. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But can any of you all relate to this at all? Do you guys struggle with any infertility? If you don't mind sharing. I didn't prep y'all for this.
Absolutely. So as the panel knows, and I'll tell Latanya, I don't know if she saw the song, but I have a 10-year-old daughter. My husband and I were married for probably 7, 8 years before my daughter was born. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which means I have cysts around my ovaries, which basically when I was younger, they were telling me that, if you do get pregnant, it'll be a miracle, and then as I got older, they were like, well, maybe you can get pregnant and it's just going to be super hard for you to get pregnant. And I think when you talk about what a person experiences with the infertility issues, the frustration of dealing with all these different people in the medical community, because my struggle was I would find like an OBGYN that I just adored, and then it was like, oh, well, they're not here anymore, or you have to see this person. And so that was frustrating because you're telling your story over and over again, which can be very traumatizing. I have irregular periods. I have miscarried and didn't even know I was pregnant. So I lost the pregnancy like back in 2004. Um, my labor was my pregnancy was very difficult in the beginning. I couldn't keep any food down. I was still having my menstrual cycle, which was scaring me because I didn't know if it was the baby, if it was me, if it was, whatever. And so it was just a continuous run of tests. It was being afraid, because I didn't want to be that person who, and I've heard those stories, and Latanya, I've heard you share about it as well, just conceiving and then either something wrong with the baby or losing, the pregnancy. So yeah, it was a long winding road for myself and my husband. I mean, one of the biggest things when we, talked about getting married was we both wanted a family. And so when you've been married, for like 7, 8 years and there's no kids, you know, um, it's like it's very trying on your relationship as well. And my husband had issues as well. So now, we're back and forth, both going to the doctor. Like what, his issue was he has like sleep apnea, and there is a connection between like low testosterone, sleep apnea, um, diabetes, stuff like that. So it was also like the anxiety of I don't want nothing to be, like putting him at risk of actually dying. So we learned about him having sleep apnea and all of these things all at the same time. So it was really scary. But I think what helped was we communicated with each other throughout the whole thing. Like I would go to the doctor with him when he would go see his doctor. He would go to the doctor with me. We encouraged each other. Um, but it's definitely an issue. I think there is a lot of emphasis placed on like what women can do to conceive, but for some reason there's not like a lot of emphasis on public emphasis on what men can do to help their process. Because I learned a lot. Like, we started paying attention to what we were eating, exercise, diet, stuff like that, and just resting. That was the biggest thing. We both had stress, high stress level jobs at that time, so that played a part in it as well. So, but
Okay.
fortunately for us, we stayed at it. I didn't have to do in vitro. They were adamant about me just like really reducing, like my workload, changing my diet. I think what happened was I stopped worrying about it. And I remember the day that I just stopped having so much anxiety about it. And we just started traveling, having fun. And then bam, you don't have the flu, Miss Mosley. You're pregnant. So this day of my I just had a moment. And Ashley, you already made me cry one time today. So
sorry, I know I should have prepped y'all for a couple things.
It was beautiful.
You, Latanya, I thought about prepping you for that song earlier today,
no,
and then it escaped my mind.
So it was just a string of emotions going through the whole process.
Yeah. So you guys' story ended positively. You guys
right, it did.
Struggles,
it did.
But you're mothers, so that's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
Cannon, what about you? Do you want to share?
Well, that I didn't have. Fortunately, I didn't have any experience like that. My son was an unplanned pregnancy when I was I had him a month before my 19th birthday is when I had my oldest son. He just made 20 in May. In this month, the beginning of this month, he just made 20. And then from there, I just I wasn't sure if I wanted any more kids, or I definitely didn't. I definitely was apprehensive about having more children because I didn't want, because me and his dad, we did get married. We were together for a little while, but then we split up. And I just did not want to, be having a bunch of kids out here with a bunch of different people, raising them alone. I didn't want that. So I was always kind of like, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, whatever. It was never anything that I was racing to be like, oh, I want more kids. I need more kids, or I need to get married, or I need to do this stuff. But it just so happens that my husband made, what was it, 6 years ago? Yeah, 6 years ago, he came and proposed to me, and we got married. And then shortly after that, I got pregnant. I got pregnant with my daughter. We got married in March, and I got pregnant with her in September. And what's funny is that we weren't even living in the same city. Like, he was still living in Chicago, and I was living in Atlanta. So we used to only see each other like once a month. So I know the exact day that I got pregnant.
When you all proposed, or when he proposed?
Yeah, when he proposed, he was still living in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, he came and surprised me on New Year's Eve.
Aww.
He flew up and proposed on New Year's Day, and we got married that March. He was still living in Chicago. I was still here.
Wow.
And yeah, we used to visit each other back and forth at least once or twice a month. We would see each other. Yeah.
So that's a whole other topic. Long distance relationship.
Right. Yeah.
Here.
We did the long distance thing.
Darwin, so you guys didn't really have fertility issues. I want to ask you guys.
Well, I had some fertility issues.
Okay.
My junks are just too strong. I was getting women pregnant on birth control, and it was just like, oh my God, I need something to tone this stuff down. Like, my super soldiers was just being too super. So that's just a big problem.
Ashley, you always fall for it. You be like, yeah, and then I just already be knowing something crazy is gonna happen. Everybody else be like, and I just be like, oh my God.
But that's a problem, though. It might be a good problem to some people, but it was a problem for me.
I wanted to say I wanted to thank everybody who's in the chat right now and all of our viewers. I see Zero. Salute to the panel. He says, showing love to Ashley and the crew. Thank you. Someone says, thank you both for sharing so intimately. Do you feel your relationship with your child or your children is different from other mothers? And then another question is, may I ask, what is your view on abortion after experiencing your challenges? I like those questions. Go ahead.
I will say that one of my most favorite things to tell my daughter directly is there were so many people praying for you. And whenever she having a bad day, whenever she is second guessing herself about anything, I can actually tell her, you know what, Janae? You weren't this was not spontaneous combustion. Like, so many people prayed for you, like, even before we knew what your name was. Like, you're meant to do great things because so many people invested in you coming into the world. And that gets a smile out of her every single time. Like, I think back to those days as we're having this conversation. Like, I used to keep these home pregnancy tests everywhere with me, to the point where even if any of my friends thought they were pregnant, they didn't even go to the store to buy a pregnancy test. They were like, oh, we're going to call Javonda because we know she has one. And the feeling of taking pregnancy tests after pregnancy tests after pregnancy tests, and they all coming out negative, and days that I would cry, days that I would stay in bed, days that I was depressed about not being able to conceive at that time. And I remember the exact date that I had the pleasure of. I couldn't even wait till my husband came home. I called him like crying, like, babe, we did it. Like, you're going to have a baby. And I just remember people on his job cheering for him, family members screaming through the phone. We just all excited. Like, it hits different. Mother's Day hits so different to me every year because that's like the biggest miracle in my life, other than me surviving the things that I survived in life. Like, she is my pride. She's our pride and joy. Like, I'm gonna stop talking now because it was hard, like very very hard, and just
I will say that it is that it is different though. It's like my kids are 15 years apart. I was wilding, but it is different to, like I say, have an unplanned pregnancy, kind of to be pregnant and shocked about it and not expecting it, blindsided, and then to plan a pregnancy. Like, that's really, it is two different things, and it's a whole host of other things that's going on with you, like. By me having such a huge gap in my kids, I did have a concern. I mean, I was like 33. I was 33, but I did have a concern. Like, man, kind of like, it's been 15 years. Let's see if it's still working. I don't know, because I've only been pregnant 2 times. So it's not. Like that is, and as you get older, you do start to have that concern. Like, okay, what if I do really want one, and then now it's a problem, and I can't. But the doctors always tell you to try for at least a year before you, before you concern yourself with anything. So,
okay. So
I think I would echo what, I can't remember. JB, is that your name?
Jobo.
Oh, Jobo.
Jobo. I'm gonna echo what she said, but just that I don't think it's different when I think about the way that I mother them. But I think I will add that to my motivational piece with my son as I'm trying to get him to do things like you were. But I'm gonna echo everything that people were praying for you. But I think the part that people miss sometimes in the fertility journey is it can take the joy out of the pregnancy because you're so concerned about, like when you talked about being nervous and bleeding. So my first pregnancy, I was like nervous the entire time. The second pregnancy, even though I didn't have any issues with the last 2 pregnancies, but it kind of takes the joy out of being pregnant because of that challenge. So you kind of are jaded a little bit when you see other people who are enjoying their pregnancies. You're not side-eyeing them, but you're like, you wanted that experience for yourself too. So that's what I'll add to that.
Okay, thank you. I imagine, that's real and honest. And I hate that we sometimes judge people, we, think, oh, she's jealous, right? But that's a legitimate feeling. If you've been praying for something and you see other people around you, obtaining that, and you don't always know their story. Sometimes it came easy, sometimes it didn't. But that doesn't even matter because it's like you're seeing them experience what you've been praying for. And it's not that you wish bad upon them or that you wish that they didn't have these blessings, but it could make you feel a little sad if you've been praying for a child for 10 years and then somebody comes around and it took them 6 months,
Listen, I promise you, I probably went to so many baby showers and within that 7-8 years, to the point where my husband was like, well, maybe you should just stop going to baby showers, like, because you are coming home like happy that they're having a baby, but it put me in a mood sometimes. Also, I want to point out that within that time I was trying to get pregnant, my sister-in-law, her 2 oldest children, me and my husband helped her through a really rough time at one point, and we were raising her 2 oldest kids. And when they returned back to their mom and I had to rearrange my house, like kids had been there and then it was like, bam, no kids here. That probably was in my top 3 toughest times being married. That was probably number 1. It was like we both were sad that they were gone, and it was like, okay, what now? And it's like, okay, back on the whole, let's try to get pregnant again. you know, and it just got to be draining. And we were living in South Georgia at the time, and I remember my husband saying, you know what, we should just make a drastic change. We just need to move. Okay. And if you from Georgia, and I hate to say this, if you from Georgia, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it's gonna be a given that at some point you're gonna live either outside of Atlanta or in Atlanta. And I didn't want to go. I went kicking and screaming. And that was in 2010, I believe. And I was pregnant by February 2011.
Okay.
And I remember just like not, it's like once I moved, the anxiety went away. And I was like, let's live life. And it was like it clicked. Okay. Like if you live life, take care of yourself, you know, focus on some other things, you could possibly get pregnant. And I remember having that thought, and bam, I thought I had the flu and I was really pregnant. Had a whole didn't even know it.
Yeah. And that leads me to the fact, you know, I just wanted to mention a few things about, you know, what influences fertility. Obviously, we can't do anything about our eggs dying, right, and decreasing with age, but we can impact our fertility by what we eat, you know, our consumption of alcohol, our exercise. So there are other types of things that we can do to make sure that we have optimal fertility. I did want to go back to this question though. One of our viewers asked, how has that impacted your view on abortion? And I don't want to get on the whole tangent about abortions and whether or not they're right or wrong. I don't want to do that. Not tonight. But has that impacted how you guys feel about abortions at all?
It hasn't impacted how I feel about it at all. I mean, that's that person's choice and what they want to do with their life. There's no way for you to know, like you said, you don't know that person's story. So I think it's up to them and they have the right to make whatever choice, regardless of what struggles. The things that I tell most young women is, I tell them to live their life, but if that's something you want to do and have children, just be conscious of that. Maybe consider freezing your eggs or something like that, just so you have a plan of action if you encounter a challenge like that. So that's the only thing I tell, because I teach high school. And so when I tell younger women that when they ask me, like, what are some lessons you learned, especially my seniors, what are some things you would tell us? And I tell them, just enjoy your life, live your life. But if that is something you really want to do and you're looking to do it later in life, you might want to consider the freezing of your eggs as a possibility. But it doesn't impact my abortion. It's up to whatever that woman wants to do with her body.
Okay. All right.
I think we often, I don't know, I don't want to say leave off, but that was a good point. But I think we forget that abortion is also sometimes a part of the fertility process. I've met quite a few women who unfortunately had to terminate pregnancy because they weren't viable.
Okay.
And it's always painted as if a woman's just loosey-goosey and she just ripping and having a baby yank. And that's not always the case at all. Some people have ectopic accepted in the fallopian tube. And women shouldn't be shamed for terminating that pregnancy. But it's always spent as if, oh, well, she just out here hoeing in these streets and she just don't want to take care of her kids. When that isn't even brought up as a real honest to God reality of getting or trying to conceive. Ms. Jovo, you made a good point about being exhausted. When we first got married, I was the birth control queen. Let me tell you, okay? I would cream pie me because we are taking the pill, okay? But eventually, kind of like what Darwin was talking about last week, it was just like, oh, let's just have a baby. It'll be fun, whatever. To your point, you have a few of those, miscarriages, and it's not fun anymore. It's not, it's just, it's debatable at that point. So you guys brought up some good points, but I do think abortion is often left off a part of the fertility conversation because people don't think about the fact that you could eventually get pregnant and that child could be developing with all those organs outside of his body. I know women who's had babies developing and their legs are developing together. And unfortunately, you don't have to, but unfortunately, some women choose to terminate that pregnancy. But that's all.
I wanted to add onto what Ms. Jovo said about men's fertility issues not being public. I think because men don't want to talk about that. I think a lot of men feel probably ashamed about not being able to reproduce normally. So um, a man is not just not going to openly talk about what they can't do about anything anyway. So especially when it comes to having kids, and most men think that's um, the all means of being a man is having a baby, and that makes them a man. So if they can't do that, they're going to feel less of a man. So they're definitely not going to talk about it openly to anybody, probably not even their wife or significant other, you know. So I think a lot of men will feel very ashamed of that, and that's why a lot of men probably don't go get the help that they need, and they just live life not ever having kids, and probably not even knowing really why they're not having kids. They just thinking that they just you know just unlucky, you know. But in reality, they just really do have a problem, and most men will never admit it, you know. So it's just going to go on like that for a long time because men, I don't think men is going to ever come to the conclusion where like, yeah, let me have a sit down and talk with my wife. Say, yeah, something's wrong with my move. You know, I can't do it. I just ain't shoot. My soldier's acting funny. You know, they ain't no one having those conversations. I've never heard that in a barbershop talk. You know, and even with close friends, you know, I'm pretty sure all the people I know, everybody's soldier isn't acting right. So, but I never heard a man talk about it. So.
And that actually is a nice segue to the next part of this discussion, the role of male fertility. Why don't we address it as much as we should? I want to share a few stats on male fertility. And I was surprised to learn some of these statistics because people so ignorantly say things, right, and draw these conclusions. And they don't really even know themselves, right? I was on a Clubhouse not too long ago, and there was this man, you know, using the typical Black mano language about women being not as valuable and having geriatric pregnancies, which makes them, you know, not good, suitable for wives. And they're just going on and on and on about women's fertility, not realizing that their fertility is changing as well, and it's fleeting as well, and that's not a good thing. We would all like it to be another way, right? But it's very much a reality. And I just wanted to share some stats on male fertility, and then I want us to kind of talk about, you know, why we don't address male fertility like we do female fertility. Looking at these stats and looking at the data, you know, it's almost silly to not. I think a lot of people think male fertility is all about how much sperm a man produces, when that's only a part of healthy fertility in men. It's not just about sperm production, it's also about sperm movement. You know, you need your sperm to move in order to be able to fertilize a woman's egg, right? Sperm over time starts to slow down, and sometimes there's not as much movement or motility. At least 40% of sperm are moving. Okay, so not even half of the sperm that a man has is moving, only about 40% of it, and that decreases as time goes on. You also have sperm function. All of these things play a role in a male's fertility. Male fertility, just like women's fertility, declines with age. It does so much more slowly, but it definitely significantly decreases. The most fertile age for a man is before 40. You know, so there are a lot of guys, you know, who always talk about how men don't have a biological clock, right? But that's just not true. Science says otherwise. You all do have a biological clock, and just like in the data that I provided earlier, 1/3 of fertility problems in couples stem from a male's infertility issue, and 1/3 of infertile couples experience problems getting pregnant because both man and woman, just like with Jovo, have some infertility issues. So it's definitely something to talk about, right? You know, a lot of men kind of talk about women's fertility, and they always come from the standpoint of, oh, you're an old maid, you're a spinster, you are what is it? All these terms that they have, and it lacks a lot of sound fact and truth and judgment. So it's something to talk about, especially if you're a woman and you're marrying an older man, right? So I want to ask you guys, Latanya specifically, and Jovo, because I know you guys experience this.
It's
Did
shaming.
it ever dawn on you guys that it wasn't you but your husband? And if it and when it did, when did that happen? You know?
I think initially we both went through testing. When you're once you they give you the fertility and you go to the specialist, they do testing on both ends. But listening to Jobo, I'm making some connections now because my husband also has sleep apnea as well, and he was dealing with AFib with his heart, and so now I'm making some connections that they never made. But it wasn't determined that his motility. I'm glad you're bringing up all these terms. I'm now coming back into my bad. All these terms we used to hear when we were sitting in the doctor's office. But all of those, he didn't have any issues, but medically with that. But I just really liked what Darwin had to say. That was some good stuff. You know, when I think about who I was able to reach out to on this journey and thinking about my husband's friends and how he wasn't able to engage with them like that. You know, so Darwin was on point about that, especially like when you're talking about barbershop conversations, basketball court conversations. That kind of support is not there. But even with the men, I'm thinking about even within the Black women's community, like not really sharing, like kind of how we're sharing tonight. And I ended up finding a group called for Fertility for Colored Girls. I ended up finding this group online.
Okay.
Quiet, Kaden. No, sir, it didn't.
So
It's called Fertility for Colored Girls, and that was a good support for me.
Cannon, she stepped away for a second. Oh, Tanya, you go ahead.
So it makes me think. So he didn't have any medical issues, but I always was concerned about his support, like emotionally with his friends. His family was supportive, but men are just, they just don't open up in the ways that we do. They don't express it in the manner that we do. And so I was trying to be conscious about giving him the space to deal how he needed to deal with that, but not totally ignoring that, but being open to acknowledging that it doesn't always look like how I'm handling it too.
Okay.
So hopefully I answered that.
Thank you. Zena says it's shaming. Men and women are ashamed in that their body can't do what it's supposed to do. And B, even if you talk about your infertility, I think she's saying most people brush it off. All right. You wanted to ask something, Mrs. Understanding?
Yes, that was exactly what I wanted to say. I was going to piggyback off Zena. Sorry, I'm trying to read off my phone. I was trying to piggyback off what Zena said, and I think it's not just about men. The conversation has to change in general. I can't tell you how many times women were like, so when y'all having a baby, and it's just, not only is it insensitive, I know so many women who are only able, to Ms. Jobo's point, to have one child. So you sit up here talking about where's your next baby? That's insensitive and it's rude. I remember I got into a conversation with this lady and she was like, I don't understand how it's rude. You're not going to pay for this child. You ain't going to be here for no baby shower. Why do you need to know what I'm doing with my uterus right now? I need to know why you need to know. You going to sell it? What's going on here? Why you need to know? But I think the conversation in general has to change. I think sometimes it's because I'm from the South and we're just like that. But it's not just, uncomfortable for guys in the barbershop. It's uncomfortable, to Ms. Jovo's point, at baby showers because you want to be happy for the young lady or the older, whoever it is getting pregnant. But there are so many, women who struggle with it, or kind of to my point, you may have lost one last month and you don't want to do this no more, So it's a lot going on. But I don't think it's just for the barbershop. I think everybody's got to change the conversation.
We do. And I think for me, like I said before, it was okay finding out that I don't know how much you all know about sleep apnea, but like even down to like if my husband, God forbid, he had to have emergency surgery or something. And during that time, we didn't know he had sleep apnea and we didn't know these things. It's like certain surgeries they don't even want you to have if you have sleep apnea. Like it was scary for me because my husband is the opposite of me, totally laid back, very encouraging, like it's gonna happen, like relax babe, whatever. But I was more concerned about, okay, they're finding out all this different stuff about sleep apnea. At the time he had high cholesterol. um I was getting scared about that, like, okay, we want the baby, but I want you to be around to enjoy the baby. And I think that's kind of to the point of when men do notice something about their fertility, it's not just, okay, I'm not making babies, something's wrong. It's okay, it might be something else going on with you, brother, and you need to check into it. Because to Darwin's point, I think a lot of times men are reluctant to even, especially black men, to even go to a doctor, to talk about, prostate and fertility and all of these different things. So I know as a substance abuse counselor, I'm now having to counsel men on, you need to get Viagra from your doctor and not from the street. Like we don't need to do that. Like these little, pills and different things they sell at the corner stores, or, a dealer might have, like, you're too ashamed to go talk to, a professional about the issues that you're having. And now you're seeking all these different things from sources that cannot educate you on what you're putting in your body. This is high risk behavior. So it's so many different ways that we can discuss men's fertility. I know for me, I'm just thankful my husband has really close friends he could talk to, because there were some days where he didn't want me to go to the doctor with him, and I respected that because he wasn't ready to discuss everything that was going on. So I had to give him time and space, which is really hard because we're nurturing, especially when it comes to our close ones, and we just want to be in the know. So I'm just glad he did have some support. Um, I know at times it not having a kid at certain parts of our marriage, like I know it bothered him. I think the other thing men deal with is I'm disappointing my wife. And I had to, always reassure him that, we're in this together. You're not disappointing me. I'm not disappointing you. We're into this situation together. So
Okay.
And
So, oh, go ahead.
I also think it's just a lack of education too,
yeah.
sex education.
Yeah.
So I have a vasectomy, and I got a vasectomy after our last child, and I don't know you all happy for, but even when I discussed that with my friends, close friends, they was, of course they talk crazy. They didn't even know what they was talking about. They, oh, you lost your manhood, you cut your move off. Oh, you shooting out powder and so just saying crazy stuff like, yeah. And I just was like, just looking at them like, y'all just don't even know. And like at first I was like, damn, I shouldn't have said nothing. And then the more they talked and sounded ignorant, I was like, I felt like, yeah, I know something that y'all don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm controlling my destiny with what I just did. Like I know for a fact I'm not about to have no more kids, and I wouldn't have done something about it. And it did not change our sexual activity. It didn't change anything about. We was right back doing it in 2 days. So, it was like men just need to educate themselves on what's going on, a process about their own body. It's a lot that they don't even know about their own body, and it's just funny to me how they think they know so much about a woman's body when they don't even know about their own body. And if they can just educate themselves about the anatomy of a woman's body and their body, it'll probably take the stress off of their woman, because they'll be open to talk to them about it. Because what woman wants to talk to a man that's just ignorant about their body, and they think they know everything because they have, like you said, they have this street knowledge of what men tell them about a woman's body, instead of actually getting the education from a licensed doctor or something like that. And then a woman talking to him about it. It's just like I would think it's a turnoff to a woman if a man just come with some some ignorant stuff to tell them about their own body, and they just swept it down as a fact because their grandfather told them this when they was a little kid, So
Yeah.
I was told that the more sex you have, the bigger your dick get, and that was a lie. It's stuff that men talk about. This is true. This stuff that men talk about, and you be like, yeah, because I was smashing women. The more sex you had, and that's not true. So it took me about 3 years ago to find that out. But we just need to educate ourselves a little bit more about our body and what's going on, and we can have these conversations comfortably and make everybody's life a lot less stressful.
Yeah, Dora, I agree. Thank you for sharing that, Darwin, and saying that publicly.
He said, in case somebody missed it, he said to the men who know so much about our bodies, get educated on your body.
Maybe they'll listen to you. I don't know.
What is it that they say now? Bars. Bars.
Yeah,
Dorian says he's not. Dorian says he's not lying. He's talking. Wait, he says he's not lying about talking to friends or homies. They play too much. He says definitely a conversation for mature homies. And let me add these stats really fast, and I will go ahead and let you speak. We're talking about male fertility because it's often not talked about. However, it is very important when we discuss pregnancy and when we discuss couples who, have issues getting pregnant. 1/3 of the couples who do have issues getting pregnant can be attributed to infertility in the male partner. Okay, sperm quality is at its best between the ages of 30 and 35, and it reaches its lowest levels after 55. It might take men older than 45 up to 5 times longer to conceive than those 25 and younger. It says the risk of miscarriage, autism, and genetic mutations are also much higher in men after 40. And I'm sharing this because, as we all know, we hear it, especially amongst men, and especially a lot of conversations in social media, that women value decreases over time, and men are asserting that they don't want a woman past 30 or 35 because she's going to have a Down syndrome baby, and she's a Spencer, she's an old maid, not realizing that just like our fertility declines over age, so does theirs, and it's something that we can't ignore, especially since people are getting married at older ages, and you have men who are advocating for marrying younger women. And I'm like, well, these younger women need to also be aware that when they marry an older man, that some issues with fertility may come into play. This is real life. I have linked some of the data in the chat, but most of it comes from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So I just wanted to share that. But Candy, you had something to say.
Yeah, I was gonna just add that part of your question, like as far as why do we not give enough attention, or it's not discussed a lot about male fertility and things like that, is because I think it just boils down to fertility is seen something that's a woman's issue. Like it's seen as something that a woman has to worry about. I feel like a lot of men don't grow up being socialized to be more aware of their part that they play in pregnancy and things like that. Like if you notice how a lot of conversation goes, it's like many times they seem to, it's like they engage with it as though a woman getting pregnant is something that happens to them, not something that they've done. Right? Like they sometimes the conversation is like a tacit, kind of like like they're a tacit participant, like they're not really, like they didn't have everything to do with it. And like my husband and I have had these conversations as well, and I've just talked about how it's interesting when you're having those conversations that, because I have like brothers and cousins, like I have a lot of male family members, friends, whatever. So I like to talk to people. I like to actually have conversations with people, not just argue with people, or you know what I mean, or just to get a point across or whatever. So I like to really understand other people's viewpoints. And so many of them, it takes so long to get to the point where it's like, you are also in charge of your reproductive decisions and choices and like what you're doing, like who you get pregnant. Like, you know that you're also responsible, like you're in charge. You don't have to get people pregnant. Like, and it's like, just will literally have to have that conversation, and they'll just be like, it'll be like a short circuit. Like, what do you mean? Like, because I didn't want to get them pregnant, and they got pregnant. Like, no, you didn't have to get them. Like, well, I didn't do it on purpose, but you did not do it. You know what I mean? Like there's still a choice in there that I feel like we don't socialize men enough to be like, no, you don't have to just get somebody pregnant. Like, you can make choices, and there are things that you can do to where you're more in charge, where you're not at the mercy of the person that you're sleeping with on whether or not they have a pregnancy or carry it to time. Like, you don't, I have
the favorite line is, I thought she was on birth control, or she wanted me to come in her, or stuff like that. Like, it don't matter what she wanted. Did you want to have a baby? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, how do you know she was on birth control? Did you actually go to the doctor with her to make sure she was on birth control? I know people like to have raw sex, so you know, most people like to do that, but it's still ways to prevent having a baby. You know, you can still like make sure she's on birth control, stuff of that nature. Get the parent beat the pills and stuff like that. But you know, I just think a lot of men just have excuses and just want to throw that off on the woman. If she so happens to get pregnant, then hey, go have an abortion. Like, it's just nothing. It's just have an abortion. You know, you knew I didn't want a baby. Now you knew you didn't want a baby, nigga. So you should have did what you had to do. What I'm doing something for you for, when that woman might deep in her mind want a baby. So you never know. Like, you don't trust her, trust you.
Yeah. Dorian says, I've been telling younger guys, he says, I'm sorry. Very true. I've been telling younger guys about shooting blanks. When they get older, they all think they have so much time. And they do. I think that, you know, men do other men a disservice when they continuously say things like, oh, you know, I could make a baby till I'm 70. I'm like, okay, you know, just because you can have sex doesn't mean that you will be able to conceive. Now, you might have some older men who have made babies, right? Obviously, right? But your likelihood of doing so decreases over time, just like it does with women, and the health of the baby can be impacted. So it's definitely something that
and the other question becomes, why would you want to?
About.
You want to be 60 and 70-year-old with a newborn? What kind of
shit? You can't do nothing with your son.
Carrie had a good. Oh, go ahead.
I have a friend. He's very conscious of like his age and stuff like that. He said to me the other day, we was having this conversation, that no man in his family has lived over the age of 65. You know, so that in itself, like, if you do want to even have a baby at the age 60, just think about your chances of even watching that baby grow up, graduate even from 8th grade is not that good. You know, like, I will believe everybody will want to have some of these moments with their kid. That, of course, they don't know the moment that they're going to have, but just knowing that you have graduations, you want to walk your daughter down the aisle, things of that nature. I think people envision that when they do have kids. So if you want to wait to 60, 65, you chances are you might not have that. And, you know, so it's about.
Well, the average mortality rate for Black men is 64.
Yeah. So
it's just something to talk about. You know, we have to get rid of this one-sided conversation that points at women, you know, and a lot of times it's not even a conversation that's rooted in concern for women. It's rooted in shaming women. Oh, look at you, you getting older, you gonna be a geriatric mom, or you gonna have them Down syndrome babies, or you're a Spencer, you're an old maid. And it's not even rooted in a healthy conversation. It's rooted in trying to shame women into doing something that you want them to do.
But some of them babies do be coming out looking like they 23. Y'all better watch it. We having them babies too old now.
So the point, and I'm not advocating for pushing off, you know, marriage and having children. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that both men and women have to be aware of everything that goes into having a child, you know, and pregnancy. You know, when we are getting married, you can't just count out the fact that it may be you, it may be your health that as a man that is preventing pregnancy. And if you ignore that for 2-3 years, you know, that's 2-3 years that you've lost that perhaps you could have used to be trying to focus on the right thing so that you can, increase your chances of getting pregnant. And I also think that women need to be educated about this so we can start setting some stuff straight when people are trying to, belittle us as women, because of these things. It doesn't even make sense, right? We talked a lot about like outside pressures and criticisms from people who see that you're married and you haven't had a child yet. What about partner resentment? Can any of you all speak to that? Have you guys ever had a situation where your partner, and I don't want no husbands, and I don't want nobody to get mad, but if you can wisely speak about, any experiences or even just hearing about couples where there's some partner resentment, where one partner, whether it's the man or the woman, who's resenting their partner because they have fertility issues. Can you guys speak about that? No, y'all quiet. Y'all like, nah, I'm gonna save this one.
Well, I can't speak about that, but I can speak about for the longest my wife, like, she kept saying that she don't think she can have kids and stuff like that, and it really didn't matter to me, but I knew it mattered to her. She didn't really, get into a deep conversation about it, but she used to make comments about it all the time. So in the back of my head, I was feeling like, I just felt like she just couldn't have babies anymore, and which when and I guess I kind of felt bad for being relieved about that. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's so important to her, and I was just like, shit, I can shoot the club up whenever I want. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't got to worry about having a baby. But on the other side, I knew she wanted another baby. So I don't I don't know if she ever felt that from me, but I was just like, and then when she got pregnant, I was kind of like shocked, like, what the hell? I thought you couldn't have no more babies. Just a miracle, you know what I'm saying? And all along, she had been planning this crap.
So See, no, he always knows. See, he always know. See, this is where the disconnect between me and the women come in at right now, okay, with the communication, because he always misinterprets that entire situation. I never said to this man, I never told him, like, I don't think I had a child. Why would I be like, I don't think I said I was concerned, right? Because I was older. Right. I had not, I only been pregnant that one time. Right. And then so once you get to a stage where you're like, okay, well, now I want to do it, then that's when that doubt comes in. And it's like, oh, well, am I going to be able to? Like, okay.
Well, you convinced me, goddammit. So shit.
No, that's what
your doubt was strong. Your doubt was strong enough to convince me, because I was
like you just said, that's what you wanted to hear. So you was like, well, you probably heard me say like one thing, like, what if? You was probably like, that's what done me. That's what you wanted to hear. I never said that.
Actually, while you asked the question, my husband's downstairs, so I was like, is this I just want to ask before I say no. But I mean, he said no, and I don't think we have any resentment. Like I mentioned last week, when our nieces and nephews leave, it's a lot of times like a sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God we got no damn kids, But it's bittersweet, of course, obviously. Sometimes you want them, and then other times when you ain't got no kids and it's peace and quiet, or like now when it's just us two and we don't have to worry about cooking anybody else's dinner but us two, we're like, oh, praise the Lord. You know what? See, so I don't think it's resentment. But I mean, he said no, I don't have no resentment. So
yeah. I was just wondering that because
I think just to chime in, I think there was a little bit of resentment of wanting to keep going on this journey. I think my husband wanted to take a break longer than I did, in between the loss and trying again. And I was just ready to get back in there because I was like, I had this, like, I can do this, I can accomplish. Kind of like, I guess, I don't know what you call it. Like, I felt like I could do all of these things. I've accomplished all these things, and this is another one of the things I should be able to accomplish. And so I was resenting, like, our pace was different. He wanted to like take a break, give it some rest. And I was like, let's just keep going. Let's keep going. Let's go back to the doctor. Let's figure out what to do. Let's keep going. And so one of my best friend was like, I'm gonna need you to stop. He trying to tell you he wants to stop for a while, not forever, but just take a break. And so I kind of did like what Jobo did. I went traveling. We went to South Africa. We did some other things, to give ourselves a break. But as soon as I got back, I was like ready to get back on the horse. So it was a little bit of that resentment and
Literally.
just the
No.
pacing. Literally get back on the horse. But so that was where the resentment came in, just trying to match our kind of pacing of it.
You guys remember that movie with Chris Rock? I think it was called Why Did I Get Married?
I Think I Love My Wife.
Yeah, I think I love my wife. Yeah. One of my favorite movies. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie.
And in the movie, his wife wanted to get pregnant, and there was that one joke where they were like, he was like, "You wanna?" She was like, "You only wanna make a baby to have sex," because she was like pressuring him to like, try to make this baby. She's like, "You only want to make a baby when it's time to have sex," and he's like, "You only want to have sex to make a baby," And so
I think you're thinking about that's the movie with D.L. Hughley, right? Yeah,
I think that is Why Did I Get Married with Tyler Perry and the other lady he was with that didn't want to have kids, or she had an abortion.
Oh yeah, not Chris Rock.
Was it
or was that the brothers?
No,
look at us.
No,
it wasn't the brothers.
We like,
what is
brothers,
this?
he wanted some head.
Right.
That's right.
That was what I was going to ask. Ashley,
was it Deliver Us from Evil? Because didn't she have a sister that didn't want to have kids?
This is a common movie trope, apparently.
Y'all should be ashamed of y'all.
Right, like the movie sounds familiar, but it's not the Chris Rock movie. It's not that one.
Yeah.
So when you guys say you want,
but we know what you're talking about, girl.
Yeah, right. With Miss Latanya and Miss Jovo, when you guys say you just wanted to hop back to it, I mean, I made the joke earlier about cream pie, but like, were you guys like, fill me up, big dog, or was it like,
my God,
not what you were doing?
We were on a scheduled calendar. Look,
okay.
This when I ovulate.
Okay.
This when my husband was like. And because my husband works second shift and I work first shift, he was like, "Look, you is just doing the most here." And I was like,
militant.
Like, as soon as you walk in the door, we on the calendar. I sent you the calendar. So come on, let's get it. He was like, "I'm gonna need you to."
Well, my husband already says that it's a chore, so he feels your husband's pain.
Man, I had so many people in my husband's family because we lived near his family during that time. So it was like so many of them, just like every time we leaving a function or every time people calling us up, what y'all doing? Y'all making that baby? Where y'all going? Y'all finna go make that baby?
Gotta go hunch?
Yes.
So crazy.
And it's just like some days I wanted to say, no, I want to go home and go to sleep because I'm exhausted. Or it was just like
I was always, that's what we're going to do, definitely.
So do you feel like the now this might be too deep. I'm sorry. You can say no. It came up. Do you guys feel like, okay, so I know for me, when it's like a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, we got to drop the nut off in the mailbox. It's very quick. It's not a lot of foreplay. It's just right on in there. Yeah. So is that you guys like sacrifice,
romance? You mean like romance?
Definitely. There was no romance.
Okay. Yeah, so I was like,
in the morning, you just get home. Let's go.
You might as well set him in the bathroom with a magazine. Shit.
Exactly. Put it in the
turkey basin.
But that's how. And my best friend was like, "I'm gonna need you to dial it back a little bit and calm down."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Look, it's not gonna work. I can't do this every time. Every day you come, I'm just getting hot. Look, I gotta dip in the morning."
I can imagine what he went through. I tell him, hey, I'll take him out for a drink because I know it was rough for him.
But now, since we've had the children, and I had my tubes. I had two. Well, they don't call it tubal ligation anymore, but they took my tubes in my last C-section. We are easy. It's much more relaxed, and the romance has returned because we're not in there with a mission, and we know there's no scares or oops or uh-ohs that might happen. So it's good now. It's just trying to find with these little people get some time to do that.
Okay. And when do you know when to stop? I met someone about 3 weeks ago, and I wanted to have her on the show, but we both been busy. Maybe another time. She and her husband have been trying. They got married really young. They have been trying for years. And they both, well, actually, no, they didn't start right away. They did not. I think they got married at like 25. And they didn't start right away because they just, neither one of them wanted children. And then I think when she got maybe around 30 something, they decided to try, but it didn't come easy for them. And they kept trying for years, and they both decided if by 40 they don't have children, they're just going to give it up. And they decided that they would adopt. And so they started taking in foreign exchange students. And they just love it. You know, they absolutely love it. But they had decided when it was time for them to stop. How do you know when it's just time to stop?
Yeah, I think that just goes like with anything else, you know. You have to be highly adaptable in your life. I feel that I see that a lot when people have a lot of disappointment or people have a lot of regret and things like that. It's because they're not agile enough in their lives. Like, you can't have this fixed idea of just exactly what you think, especially things that you have no control over. You know, you can't really have this fixed idea like it's gonna work out like this. Like, you have to be adaptable. So you kind of gotta gauge that for yourself, and you have to be able to adjust. Like you said, like they realized the thing, they adjusted, and they found something else that was fulfilling, right? Instead of spending more and more time, get more and more beat down and wore down, hyper focused on this thing that they just feel like they just have to be fulfilled. You know what I mean? So I think that's where it goes. Like, if you getting too worn down, if it becomes, you have to just, you know, you have to readjust, redirect, and find something else. And that's okay too, because it's not one size fits all life. And most of the stuff you don't have no control over. So
Exactly. I was gonna make that point. Like, I just had to like redirect my focus. The sex, I mean, it did get boring, Raven. Like, it was, you know, but I had to like know how to just be like, okay, you tripping, because this schedule thing is just becoming like too much. Like, you're not even like enjoying it. But it was an opportunity for us to reconnect on other levels too. Like, we, you know, we started hanging out, you know, just not talking about getting pregnant, like just laughing and like getting to know each other again. You know, that's what I had to, you know, tell somebody. Like, it was just like, once we move, okay, we're in a new place, new city, let's go hang out here, let's go do this, let's go do this. And it was like, you know, we were getting to know each other all over again. That kind of helped us out a lot as well, with reducing the anxiety about, is it ever going to happen, is it ever going to happen, you know. So
all right.
Do you guys
you close us out on this topic? Go ahead.
Actually, I don't know. I only know one woman who went through in vitro, and she ended up giving birth to triplets, and then became the whole, you know, do I even want to be a mother of triplets? So do you guys hear of like regret after in vitro and then actually having the children and then realizing that you may not have actually wanted to be a mother? It was just, you know.
Ashley, they can't answer that.
Oh, I don't know.
What?
Can't nobody be like,
women have come out and said they regretted it.
Well, they bogus.
No, she didn't have the nanny. She was stressed out.
Think that on your own. You can't be saying that.
Think about the women who've had in vitro and then they experience postpartum depression. That's a good question, because in that period of time while you're experiencing that, you can have all sorts of thoughts about what it's like to not only have given birth but be a mom. And you know, you start to second guess yourself, you know, when you're going through something traumatic like that. Like, oh my God, like, was it even worth it? You know, postpartum is a mother, okay? Like, it can really impact a lot of moms. So I actually know somebody who did IVF and then experienced postpartum, not once but twice. So it's like, that's actually
postpartum doesn't come from the IVF though. It comes from just having
But what I'm saying
she's
is,
just saying that to work that hard to get pregnant and be that built up to get pregnant and have this baby, and then to experience that deep depression.
You know, I wouldn't say regret. but I give myself permission to be the type of mother that I want to be. And it doesn't look like everybody else's picture. So I'm not going to say regret, but I am going to say that I really had to do the work to give myself permission to be that mother, just to be the mother that I am, instead of looking around like, well, I don't do this and I'm not. So when people ask me certain things, I just simply say, I'm not that mama. I just don't care that much. And I'm okay with that. Like, it's not regret about my having them or going through that process to get him here, but it is saying to people like, this is the mother that I am. I'm not that mother. Like, I just don't care that much about pictures, school pictures like that. Or I just don't, I mean, and that's okay. But I'm still, I still like being a mother, but I'm just not that mama. And giving myself permission to be who I am as a mother, like trying to find a good fit for me being who I am as a person and a mother. And I think sometimes women don't allow themselves that. They morph into what they think a mother should be or let people tell them that. And so I'm just refusing to buy into that. And so sometimes people, it's not a regret. It's just, I ain't that mama.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was saying to what Raven was asking. Like, a lot of times when women deal with postpartum, they do have these depressive thoughts. And so when you're that woman who did IVF, you did these things to get pregnant, and then you end up experiencing postpartum, it's like, I want that joy back that I had about being excited to be pregnant, but right now I'm not finding the joy in motherhood. Like, this is hard, So I think what Raven asked is actually, if it was a woman in that situation, that's kind of a valid question, because I've spoken to women who've had postpartum before, through what I do for a living, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done IVF. Maybe I shouldn't have done, maybe I wish I didn't get pregnant. I've had, postpartum is very real. I've had, women say, things, like I had to call a family member because I didn't know what my next move was going to be, in terms of wanting to harm myself or harm the baby or whatever. So it's definitely real. It's definitely something to consider. So as far as like, did you regret having a kid? Asking that question to a mom who's like in the smack dab middle of like postpartum depression.
Yeah, no, I think that
the answer you might get depending upon who it is.
No, I think that was a good question. Like, in the comments here, like Zena says, postpartum is real. All the work goes into having this child, and now you're looking at it like it has 3 heads. Who do you talk to when your whole life you've been telling everyone how much you want to be a mom? Right. And she said you suffer in silence because you feel like you shouldn't have those depressive thoughts. So yeah, like I could only imagine that, because I think that it is different. And it's not saying that postpartum depression is caused by IVF, right? But I do think that it would hit different if you like, versus like you kind of getting pregnant easily, or really wasn't even trying to get pregnant, or you just pregnant and you get postpartum. Okay. But I think it will hit different if you have, like you said, built up this idea in your head all of this time. Like Miss Jovo said, going to everybody's baby showers, being upset at home, having arguments with your spouse, going through all of this stuff and having sex on a schedule, you know what I mean? And I think IVF, you have to like stick yourself with a needle and like doing all of this stuff. And then you have the baby, and then you don't get those feelings that you thought you were supposed to get. You know what I mean? Like you had this idea built up, and then like, because I always say nobody can tell you what it's like to be a mother. Like, there's no such thing. Like, it's only something that you can understand through experience, because the experience is also different for everybody. So you have this idea built up in your head, like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And then when the reality don't add up to that, then I could imagine that it could be confusing, and that I would imagine that it could probably bring about some guilt and some, real interesting feelings after that. Like you said, like I did all of this work to have this baby, and this is supposed to be the pinnacle of my life, and I don't feel like it's the pinnacle of my life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that could definitely add on to the emotional, experience that you have. Zena says postpartum is real. All the work goes into having this child, and now you look at it like it has 3 heads. Oh, I read that one. She said, you suffer in silence because you feel like you shouldn't have those depressive thoughts.
Postpartum is really real.
So yeah, postpartum is definitely real. Carrie, though, is reminding us though that postpartum depression is not necessarily connected to IVF. You can likely, if you have postpartum depression, you would have had it, you know, whether you had IVF or not. But I get what you guys are saying. You're just saying that you did all this work, you put all this time, you made this investment that might add to a little bit of the depression that you may feel.
Yeah, of the layer to be like I mean, it's just like that would like the way you came into it would be a little bit different, right? Because it would be like you were it's something that you probably felt that you couldn't even have at some point, right? Because you fighting for it so hard, and so for you it's like everything. You see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm gonna do everything to get, I'm spending money to do it, I'm doing like all of this stuff. So yeah, I think that it would feel differently. Like someone asked, do you think they have a different idea? Do IVF moms have a different idea than people who have babies naturally? I don't think they necessarily have a different idea. I think that they have a different experience, right? I think that for somebody who just wants to get pregnant and they just get pregnant, they don't have all of that experience that the person who had to go through IVF had. So they're not going to have the same feelings. So I don't think that they have a different idea of like motherhood. I just think that they have a different experience to get there, which causes
different.
The process is different. So I think that it could hit them a little bit harder because they went through such a difficult emotional process in the beginning.
Do you guys remember?
It says postpartum can occur up to 9 years after conception.
Oh, okay, great, because that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, my son's 20 and I got
I'm not sure if that's factual. I have to look that up. But
y'all can't pull that with no man.
We talked about the Facebook group of women who regretted having children. Do y'all remember that, or is that not?
I think I might have heard something.
I'm just letting you know. You can't pull no postpartum with no man 9 years later.
That's what I was gonna say. How long is it postpartum? Because like, are all the women in that group who regret having their children, are they all just suffering from postpartum, or is it like a legitimate regret? Is there like, I'm not dealing with postpartum, I just don't want these kids, I just realized.
Yeah, I think once you have kids, it's always postpartum because they, you know, they're horrible. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Look at
a man gonna look at you like, nah, you just crazy.
Worse than Darwin. I did not know you were gonna say that.
Right. He was all excited. He was like,
yeah. All right, y'all. We got to close out on this discussion. I appreciate all of the commentary. Now, these statistics that I shared are very real. You can go and look them up on the what is it? The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the National Institutes of Health. That's where a lot of the stats came from. Now, as far as some of the talk about postpartum depression and IVF, you guys will have to do your own due diligence on that. But thank you for everybody who shared. All right. I hope you all got something from this. I heard.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, don't leave just yet, Latanya. I heard that we need to practice sensitivity and mindfulness when we are inserting ourselves into other people's reproductive health. I heard that we have to educate ourselves better. Women have to prepare themselves, but we have to stop ignoring the other half of the conversation, which entails men. I learned that, you know, reproduction can be a challenge, and it is not to be taken lightly, but it is possible to overcome. Latanya, is there anything in, let's say, 30 seconds that you would share with couples who are experiencing infertility? Any last few thoughts that you would share?
Just reach out and get support. Develop your clear boundaries about what you will and won't share with those people about your journey. And watch who is there and choose those people who are there for the duration, because it's not easy sitting sitting in discomfort for some people. So just, listen to yourself, but don't sacrifice your relationship either.
Okay.
So,
I just want to say, congratulations to all you ladies on your journey, and thanks for being brave. Having babies is not an easy thing to do, and especially if you're having complications and you still go on through with the process, that shows a lot of courage,
Mhm.
and you all should be commended for that. So,
Well,
and
thank you.
so thank you, and happy Mother's Day to the ones I never said that to.
Thank you. Thank
Aw,
you.
thank you, Darwin.
I don't have a song for you, but
I
I
bet you.
can
I bet
sing.
you can sing. We gonna get you to sing one day on camera. I bet you can blow.
I mean, I can sing.
All right. Thank you, Latanya. We appreciate you so much. Hopefully, you can join us again in the ladies' room.
Yes, I'm gonna join the group on
Thank
Facebook.
you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Join our Facebook group.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
having me. It was fun, and Darwin keep dropping the mic with your sprinkles of wisdom. You did a couple mic drops in there, so
Yeah, hey, see, thank you. Those be them gems. Yeah.
that's right. Good
All
night,
right.
everyone.
Good
Y'all
night.
take
Good
care.
night.
Thank you.
Right.
Good
Next
night.
time.
For those of you who are just tuning in, welcome to the ladies' room. I am your host, Ashley Michelle, and we have the whole squad here: Mrs. Cannon Hill, Mrs. Jovo, Mrs. Understanding, and Mr. Darwin Hill holding it down for the fellas. We talk about everything from dating and marriage and love and family to mental health and physical health. We talk about parenting. We talk about societal issues. We talk about it all right here in the ladies' room. So make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe, y'all, so you can find out every time we post videos. All right. You can also join our Facebook group on our Facebook group is called the Ladies Room Podcast Group Chat. I'll put it into the um, the comment section. But we're moving on. This leads us to our next and last um, question or topic: role switch, domestic dad and working mom. We have had this on the agenda for like a whole month and we have not gotten to it. But we are finally going to talk about it. Role switch, domestic dad, meaning a dad who stays at home. You know, he's cooking and cleaning, he's caring for the children, he might take them to school, drop them off, he's making sure that they're fed in the morning, getting them ready for bed at night. And you have the mom who's working, you know, she leaves. I have only met, well, outside of you guys, I know you all did it for a short time, Kenan and Darwin, but outside of you guys, I have met only one other couple who did that for a short period of time. I want to know what you guys think about that. What are the challenges? How might it impact the children? And what are the dynamics that might exist in the family? And why might people want to do that? So go ahead. I want to hear about it. Who wants to go first?
Well, I guess since we've done it, I guess I'll let Darwin kick it off. You want to talk about the experience?
Well, the experience was good for me. I like the domestic part of the household. I like cooking. I like a clean house. I like doing activities with the kids. And I'm just a homebody. So when the situation came up that placed me in a home when I moved to Atlanta from Chicago, it made sense for me to stay at home while she worked. She had a career. I had jobs, but I'm retired from the military, so I still had income coming in. So that was it was a no-brainer. We didn't really trust anybody with our newborn. And daycare cost so much that it was like, hey, you can just stay at home, And I did that. I cooked, I cleaned. When she came home, I made sure we had a meal. The room was clean for her to be comfortable. I just tried to step into that role of being a good homemaker. I didn't put a gender on it. It just felt like the right thing to do. I never looked at it like, oh, I'm doing a woman's job or anything like that. It just felt like this is what I'm home all day. Let me cook and clean. I would be doing that if I lived by myself. So, and it's rewarding. I got a lot of bonding time with my daughter. Experience that I didn't have with my previous two kids, because me and the child's mothers didn't stay together that long. So just waking up every day, getting the kid ready, putting clothes on, washing my baby up, It was a lot of firsts that I got to saw. I used to have to call her and be like, "Oh, she did this, she's doing that, she's trying to walk." So I got a chance to see a lot of that growth in that early stage of parenting, and I liked it. I don't think a lot of men are open to that because of the fact that they think they're supposed to be making the bulk of the money, and but like I said, I was in a situation where I was still bringing home a little income, so I wasn't in a position to be like, oh, I'm not bringing in no money, I'm not contributing financially. I was fortunate to be able to do that and be at home, so I can't really relate to those guys that's be like, okay, I'm just not going to work and I'm going to stay at home because, like I said, I still was bringing in some money, but I would encourage. I actually think men are suited better for that position because we're naturally stronger. We're great with kids when we actually involved with kids. We're always um, tagged with being the fun parent all the time. So I think if men actually stepped up to their role, I think they would get a lot of joy out of it, and I think they would. I think they can do it better. Like going to the grocery store and carrying a kid in grocery stores. It's a lot of work being at home. And I think a lot of people don't give women credit for doing those daily tasks. Like it's 100 things you have to do instead of just going to work for 8 hours. And depending on the job that you have at work, it could be strenuous, it could be labor, or you can just be sitting in the office desk. But I think the parent at home does a lot more physically and mentally. Like I said, depending on the job. Now, if you at a factory and you stand on your feet all day, you picking up, lifting bags or boxes and stuff like that, yeah, it's a little bit more physically strenuous. But at home, you got to take care of this baby. You got to constantly hold the baby. You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're going to the grocery store, you're doing laundry, you're going to doctor visits, car seats, strollers. If you're doing all that, so and then the mental aspect of it, you got a baby, you still learning this baby. The baby can't get sleep when you want to. You can't. I mean, it's a lot, and I just commend the women that do it, and I think every man should just commend their woman when they're doing that. I don't think they should think that they're doing more than a woman because they bring home a check, because they're really not. That is part of that's that 50-50 thing that we talk about. Like, she's doing her part and you're doing your part. It's not you're doing more. And if you ask me, I actually think the one that's at home is doing more. So because that's the future. That's your future. Your kid is your future. You getting that kid ready for life. You home. That's like the first line of defense for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, all right. What do you guys think? Why? I know I asked a few different questions, but why do you all think that families sometimes choose this? And then how would that impact the relationship? I think some men wouldn't want that. Some men, they might do it for a while, but they're not going to want it because they're going to think that the wife is developing like a superiority type of attitude, like, oh, I bring home the bacon and I want to submit. I can picture a lot of men, thinking that. So what do you all think?
I think that it could happen like that, right? But I think that the bigger thing would be just because of the way society has socialized us, that kind of brings a lot of that stuff into play more so than people actually necessarily maybe behaving that way, because we do have to pay attention to the baggage and the bias that we bring into any situation. And if you already have this idea somewhere that you're less than a man unless you working, or this person gonna do, then you may view every conversation through that lens, right? So maybe they would have said something to you before while you was working, but they said it while you staying at home, and then now you perceived it a totally different way. Like, I think that that's quite possible. I will say that I think that the most difficult time for us when he was staying home and I was working was when I had an opportunity for my job, and I was able to go to I was able to go to another state, and I was doing, hold on one second, Dave. And I was doing we were supposed to be there for 6 months. So now we on the East Coast, so we all the way over on the West Coast. No family. Well, I mean, my family just so happened to be close there, but it made sense for him to come and to stay home with the baby because we were in another state. Like we were just there. And so, I think it was more difficult on him because like he didn't have any friends there. He didn't have any outlet or any family or nowhere to go. Like he was literally just in the house all day with the baby. And the way that it was set up, like they put us in an apartment, but it was a studio apartment when we first got there. So we was in a studio apartment with me, him, and a toddler. And so, yeah, that was super hard. So I think that may have impacted that experience a little bit more than just the fact that he was staying home. But I think when you coupled all of those things with it, that kind of made a lot of difficulty during that time, I feel, because there were like very little outlets. And so I think that, and he have to speak for himself, but I think that he may have even gotten into like, a mode where he was like, well, I'm not really doing anything, just because it's like, you just literally sitting in a studio apartment, you know what I mean? Like all day. So I think that you have to keep an open line of communication. And I think that we have to get out of these strict ideas of what it means to be a parent or what it means to be a husband or what it means to be a wife. Again, like I said earlier, you have to be agile. I think you just should be open to doing what makes sense, and you need to respect each other. So I think that as long as people respect each other and do what is for the good of the family, then they won't run into as many problems. But I think that sometimes that can happen, but because people feel like they should be doing something different because of society.
Yeah, there's societal issues, and it could have something to do with how you were raised too. You might have been raised to think, okay, the man should go out and work and the woman should stay home, and and then it might just be your own internal thoughts, and that's fine too. Sometimes we blame everything on external influences, and sometimes it's just that's your thought and that's your feeling, and it's okay too either way. But I think the problem is when you let it hinder your relationship. You let it hinder a healthy relationship, and you start making choices that are not good for your family based off of like pride. But what about you, Raven? I know Cannon has done it. Do you think, and you're married now, but maybe before you got married, or even now as married, how would you feel if your husband was like, you know what, we're about to have some babies, and this is just hypothetical, I don't know if this is true. You make more than me, so I want to stay home. I want to be the domestic one. How would you feel about that?
I think Cannon made an excellent point about society and how we raise and things like that. Because I have a wonderful, wonderful husband who is very into gender roles. Like we have our little disagreements and whatnot about gender roles, but that's something that he was raised to do. I mentioned before that his parents are, up in their 70s. So this is just, what he was taught. And so, which same thing for me. I was raised that, oh Lord, that women are supposed to cook clean. I was taught how to break down chickens and clean them, versus my brother being taught how to cut grass. Mm-hmm. So these are just different gender roles we were taught how to do. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if he stayed home. I think it would be funny. It would be kind of like a Mrs. Doubtfire kind of thing. I think it would be hilarious. But I wouldn't be upset with him if he was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay at home, raise the kids. I would be fine with that. I think.
Would you want to do it long term though, like until they're 18, or like what you want to do?
You like it? I love it. I done kept kids for a long time. So if you want to jump in the game, by all means. But I think something that I like to mention all the time, like it's not just as simple as switching roles. Cannon gave birth to the baby. Miss Jovo gave birth to the baby. You got to deal with breastfeeding, tearing, all the emotional damage. And that's not something that, a husband can take a load on as much as he may want to, do that. That's still some emotional labor and, issues that you got to deal with without, I guess, talking about finance or laundry. So I think it sounds good, and I think it worked great for Kenan and Darwin. I love you guys. And Miss Jungle, if you got to work in, I mean, if you have a domestic dad, good for you too. I'm just saying, I just think that you you guys were friends, and that is something that I think a lot of people miss. They just jump into relationships, but with you guys being friends, you guys have already gotten accustomed to having an emotionally healthy relationship, I assume, because you guys have been friends. But I don't know if I would suggest that for a new couple just jumping in. You know, you guys are gonna have to be extremely emotionally mature, because it's not just washing the dishes. You know, it's a whole lot. Like you said, it's planning the doctor's visits, it's everything that goes along with that. It's the PTA meetings, it's dealing with the parent teacher conference, because Kenna is at work. That's a lot of emotional labor and planning and all these other things. So I think, Darwin, if you could start a little army.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that. That is one of the fortunate things. Like Darwin is really good at that. Like he goes to doctor's appointments. He takes the baby to the dentist. Like he goes to talk to the teacher. So it's really a share. It's really not like, oh, you're doing this or I'm doing. It's like, no, whoever's available, whatever's convenient at the moment.
So the two biggest takeaways that I got from like being a stay-at-home dad was, one, the total disrespect I got from other men. Of course, oh, your woman taking care of you, you lame, you a simp, you supposed to be doing this, you supposed to do, you not a man, all this other stuff. Not knowing what I have going on or anything, they just assume, oh, you staying at home, you're being taken care of, like. But I don't pay that no attention. That just lets me know how little they know. And then the second takeaway is, when I was out doing these things like taking my daughter to the park, going to these doctor visits, going to the dentist and stuff like that, it was like there were no other men there with their kids. And that was like an eye opener. And, I kind of felt disappointed, because I know one of the main reasons of that is because the men go to work, right? But I know for a fact a lot of these men that's not working during the day, that can be doing these things and helping out the woman, and taking the load off the woman and taking these kids to these appointments and stuff like that. But I did see a lot of, I hate to say stuff like this because I never want to make it seem like another race is better than our race, but I saw a lot of white men with their kids by themselves. And I was just sitting there like, it has to be a culture thing, of course, how we were raised and how society has put us in this compromised situation as blacks. But it was just like, man, why I don't see more of this. Even at the parks, I saw white men. Even when we was in Seattle, white men, Asian men, they were with their kids. And I was just sitting there like, I maybe saw, out of the 6 months that we did, I maybe saw like 3 or 4 black men with their kids at the park. No lie. And it just was like disturbing to me that it wasn't more men doing that, and those are two takeaways I got from that. So, and I felt really proud because, a lot of people always used to walk up to me and tell me like, oh my God, this is so great. You're with your daughter. Oh my God, you guys are so cute together. And, in my mind, I'm like, I'm supposed to be with my daughter. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So, and then when I actually start seeing this, I start putting together my little stats in my head. I'm like, it like, I was my biggest supporter. I was like, I'm dope. You know what I'm saying? I was telling myself like, I'm the shit. I'm out here doing things that people ain't doing, and that people is like really, trying to degrade me for, like they don't even know that they supposed to be doing these things. They think they're not supposed to do these things. That's what really puzzled me.
Mm-hmm. I think that, it's possible to, I guess have a little balance, like me personally, I don't mind gender roles, but I don't want a husband that feels like he should never give his kid a bath or read a book to his child.
Right.
Or come along with me when I'm going to see the teacher.
Right.
Parent-teacher conferences. I wouldn't like that. I want a husband that is also a good father and one that's involved. I think being a good father is not just about providing money,
Right.
So that's me personally. But anyway, I would like to hear from some more guys. I feel like Darwin is like a gem,
Ain't no more.
to this. You know,
Right.
I'm
he
no,
gets
no.
like he makes his own money. He does well for himself, but he
Right.
at a certain time in their relationship, it made sense for him to stay home.
Right.
And he didn't feel like that took away his masculinity. And then Cannon is a little different too from maybe how some women are. Some women might get a little frustrated with that a little sooner. They might be like, nah, you need to, it's been 2 months. You need to be out, you know, making
No, he was taking care of that baby. Who's gonna do that?
Right. I was gonna say that, like you,
sure.
like what we see with the manosphere is that they use two things to say that a relationship is the bomb, if you want to call it, sex and money, and it's so much more than that. Darwin contributed to his household in a plethora of ways by just caring for their daughter and the household, because he was home. So like, stuff, whether it's, letting the repairman into the house and making sure they do what they need to do, to, dentist appointments, to, all these different things. It's all in how you look at contribution. And I think that the way we have been socialized when it comes to relationships is that, especially in 2022, you got all these people out here dating. I need sex, I need money. And it's like, well, what about time? And what about contribution to the household that doesn't necessarily include your wallet? What about emotional support? What about all these different things?
And remember, we was talking about emotional protection.
Right.
Just imagine how much emotional protection you give your wife when she knows that you can take care of that baby and take care of that house. She can go out of town. She can go and be out of town in peace and not be worried, because she knows that baby is being taken care of. Like before we even had our daughter, I had my other 2 kids, so she already knew how I was with those kids. She actually helped me with my first child. She was involved heavily with my son, and she came over with me while my son was a toddler, and we just sat up and talked and stuff like that. And she was there, just to be around and giving me those little jewels and stuff like that. So she already knew I was prepared for that moment. But there's a lot of men who don't understand that women stress out way more than we stress out over little things that has to do with our kids. Right. And if you can't even step in and relieve them of that stress, then wonder why a woman is cranky sometimes or have an attitude and things of that nature. Like, no one wants to be stressed out all day at work knowing that their kid might not be being properly taken care of because it's with the father. Like who? Like the kid with the father and the wife or the girlfriend is still stressed out. That is crazy to me. So she always tell me, like, if something was to happen to her, she knows our daughter will be taken care of, and I take pride in it. I don't want her to be stressed out at work. I want her to be happy and be confident that I'm a great father. And it's all about helping out with the little things at home. If you can't even help out, read a book and be nurturing to your own kid, then you're really not a father. Like, all that macho masculinity stuff is out the door when you're having a kid. Kid needs a balance, a balance. They need love. They need protection. They need some type of discipline. They need to know that the mother and the father can love them. I would hate for my daughter to treat me differently than my wife. I would feel bad, like, if my daughter only wanted to be up under my wife because she knows she's going to get that love. I'd be like, man, what, who am I? Know? So
right. All right. I mean, I can't imagine.
I'm sorry. I really do want to hear from the viewers out there. If you are ready to chime in on this topic, please do. You can call in at 574-943-5971. And we want to hear what you have to say about this. We're talking about role switching. We're talking about dads who stay home and moms who work. I want to hear what you all have to say about it. You can also join our live stream. I'm going to go ahead and put up our live stream in our comment section. All right, go ahead, Jovo.
What I was going to say was I'm trying to get an image of my husband being at home 24/7 with our daughter. It could probably happen. It would be very interesting.
She said it
could happen. I remember a few times being out of town for work, conferences and stuff like that. he makes it happen. Like for the longest, even the daycare teachers, they didn't know what I looked like because I worked a lot, and he was the one picking her up. My husband was the dance dad, like he was the dad at the dance studio. You know, he's capable, but I think like full time, that would be a whole CBS sitcom for real. Because it would be hilarious. And then you throw in the fact that we have a child and a dog. I'd pay good cable television money
to watch this to see
that. Because early on, I tell people this all the time. Early on in my marriage, I'm a Southern girl. I grew up with a grandmother who didn't work. My grandma was a homemaker. She stayed home. She cooked like 2 or 3 times a day. She did the laundry. She maintained the household. That's what I saw. So when I got married, of course, I jumped in and started doing all of that. And then it was like, but I ain't my grandma because I work 40 hours a week.
Exactly.
So,
I got to go work too.
You know what? Let's talk about how we can both contribute to certain things that need to get done around the house. Like if I had to name the one struggle in my marriage that really just, this is what we deal with, like that push and pull, is the distribution of household responsibilities. It's always been a struggle, but you have my husband who grew up in the home with his mom and his sisters. He had chores like any other boy, but I mean, as far as like the domestic stuff, I think he was excited when he was like, "Oh, I ain't got to live by myself no more and do my own laundry. Like I got this country girl, so she's going to, take care of me." And it's like once our daughter came along, I think he started to understand that as a father, it's not optional for you to contribute. Like you need to contribute to, her upbringing. Like my husband will go to school functions. He dentist, wherever I can't stand in, he's gonna automatically do it. That's just what it is. I know there have been days where my daughter has been sick and can't go to school, and I'm like, I can't take off the day. Like my workload is heavy. Like, can you? And I think, and I'm talking to some moms out there, I think a lot of us think we got to do everything because that's probably how you were socialized and how you were taught. But, I tell people all the time, she has a father like who lives in the home with us. He can stay home, and make sure she's okay and make the soup and all that stuff, So, I think like full time, oh, that would be hilarious. Like just
that's why I said Mrs. Doubtfire. That would be I would pay good money.
Oh my God, like it would be so funny because I'm thinking about the meals that my husband knows how to cook and how they would be in heavy rotation.
Chicken and rice every day. Chicken and rice. Chicken and rice. No. You made some lasagna, chicken and rice.
So look, oh my God, that is literally like that. His number one meal he can make is lasagna, and then the chicken, the rice, and the beans. Like, and I have to say it, like my husband is very hands on, and I give credit where credit is due for that because to Darwin's point, there are some men out there who think, well, I'm the man, I go out and provide, that's what you need to do. And that's, as far as him like taking care of our daughter and like, taking some of the load off of me because he heard, I think, our last show. And I'm that wife who would just like copy and paste, like, you need to watch this part because and he sees it now that my wife does a lot. I think he sees it,
I think to be fair though, he's a mechanic, so
right.
I didn't even realize how much oil changes cost until one day I was like, I'm getting my own oil change. Girl, I went up there, I was like, I'm gonna go back home.
And that's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up because my husband he works a 6-day work week versus me. I work right now. I'm working pretty much on average. I just reduced my schedule to like 4 to 5 days a week. And so a lot of times I will do the extra things to pamper my family because, mind you, he works Monday through Saturday. Like he rarely ever gets a Saturday off. And when he does, it's probably like a holiday or something. So, I have to also And he does manual heavy labor. Like we talking, like being up on his feet all day, handling heavy parts, what have you. So, I don't mind doing some of it, but then I have my days too where it's like, okay, this week I'm working 5-6 days too. So we need to decide who's gonna do what for dinner, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that.
Our roles was so switched that my wife was building things, fixing things. She was the one doing all of that. She looked at, hey, I'm not doing that. I'm not fixing that vacuum cleaner. I'm not about to build that stove. I'm not about to build that table, them chairs.
Right.
She'll get up and she'll go do it. But 3 days ago, what I do, babe? What I do?
He fixed the garbage disposal.
Okay, come on now. What's the name of that? Oh, my favorite show was Home Improvement. When he was,
and my Bill Cosby.
He was so proud of himself. I took a picture and I sent it to everybody. I said, "Look, he under the sink. He fixed the garbage disposal."
And the thing, sometimes I think about like, because my father, he's a great father, but he's totally different from me. My father ain't touching no baby. He's not holding no baby. He's not doing nothing with no baby. The kid got to be about 7 years or 8 years old for him to be like, okay, bring me my grandkid. Like he's one of those fathers. Like he wasn't coming. He never came into my school for no parent-teacher conference. He came to the basketball games and the football games and stuff like that. But the important things, like that, he thought it was my mother's job. Like, oh, she's supposed to go to the dentist. She's supposed to do that. She do the parent-teacher conference. Like he didn't do none of that. So the conversation came up like, so where did you get that from? Like, and I don't know. I really don't know like how I became that type of person with the kids. Maybe because I seen my mother go through things and I just wanted to be more involved. Maybe because my wife was so transparent with me about what she wanted and needed out of me, and I just stepped up to the plate. But it's just something I guess I'm just one of those people that like to do that. You know what I'm saying? But my father and my grandfather, I don't think they were like, they wasn't home. Maybe they wasn't cooking and cleaning and doing all of that stuff. So
I have a question. So for your grandfather or your dad wasn't doing all those things. Was he the sole provider?
No. My mother. I was raised with just with my mother. I live with my mother. She worked hard, and my father came around. He did the fun things like most men do. He came basketball games, football games. Took me to go get some gym shoes, clothes, and stuff like that. Came over the house, watch movies with me. My mother and my father have a great relationship, even to today. But it's just he didn't do those things like the nurturing part. The actual parenting. He did. He was a great father, but he lacked in parenting. But I learned a lot from him. He's very family oriented. He loved his family. He made sure I knew his side of the family. I went to family reunions, birthdays. Hey, call your grandmother, call your auntie. It's your auntie birthday. It's your uncle birthday. So he made sure I was very involved as far as being a family guy. And I think that's probably why I got it, because I want my family to be together. I want my family to be intact, and by any means necessary. So if that means me being the staying at home, then that's what I'm gonna do. If that means me going to work, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's why I never got into the gender role thing. I just want things to run smooth. And I think everybody should want things to run smooth in their house. And sometimes you just have to, take that, get that pride, take that pride away and do what you have to do to make sure your home is good. Forget what everybody else's house, forget what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is saying. Do what you have to do for your home. You might get criticized for it, but guess what? Your wife is happy and your kids is happy, and that's all that matters. I get talked about all the time. My wife gets talked about. I get talked about for letting my wife be so vocal and so strong. And you just be taking anything. Your wife just run you, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You ain't. She can run me. You ain't.
No, which I don't even see that. I don't even see that because I saw it when I joined y'all for y'all anniversary dinner. Like, those of y'all out there in YouTube world who think that Cannon like this tough, like,
thank you.
She's tough, but she is so adorable in person and so caring and has this laugh that is so infectious. She loves on her husband. They love on each other. Because I think people
Come on, I gotta keep up appearances. Don't be letting them know. Dang,
they didn't know you a thug.
yeah, you don't understand. I'm a G about mine. Don't
Wait,
be-
no.
In real life, she's soft. In
But
real
you know, but you know, like,
She's so domestic. Like,
Wet
she be
tissue.
frightened.
but you know, it, like when we get around people, we
Yeah.
easily can tell those people that's like fall into a manosphere spirit people,
Yeah.
and the wives that's like, and like a lot of the wives be like kind of, you can see the envy, like, why she get to talk and do all this stuff? Like a woman actually told me to tell my wife, like, you know, your wife ain't always got to be having an opinion and say you might want to tell. And I was like, damn, you know, tell my wife to be quiet. I said, shit, you know, that ain't happening.
But I find that a lot of times those type of guys who are like, ooh, so macho, they got to run everything. It's all about them being the boss. They don't have relationships where they are the boss. They typically don't. They typically have women who are super overbearing, who are loud, who don't listen to them, who cut them off, who are all those things that they say they don't want. And they have not had a relationship where a woman was submissive and was what they say women should be. And that's why they're so hyper. I hate to call it masculine because it's not masculine. It's just hyper, like
it's performative,
absorbed, and like,
Yes,
I'm
that's
the
the
man,
word.
I'm the boss. And
but
it's like, you don't have to keep saying that. Men who really are the bosses in their relationship
will just be the boss. Yeah, like you don't have to. Yeah, but I like that you brought that up because it could also be that you're mirroring, like your partner is mirroring who you are. So I mean, if you just think that, like you said, when they want to talk about submission, if you this combative person that's always trying to, do all of this in head, but then that's what you're gonna experience. So you do need to know that in a partnership, you all both need to, like I say, respect each other. Like it needs to be a mutual thing. You're gonna get back what you put out, which I find that's like somewhat getting lost out there in the atmosphere. And I think that now that we're having this conversation, what actually frustrates me the most, I think that when I'm talking to certain people in certain spaces, a lot of people will get the impression, or certain men in particular will get the impression when we're talking about like fathers' rights and different things like that, they'll get the impression that I'm like, that I think, that I have something like against men in that regard, you know what I mean? Or something like that. When it's like, it's literally the total polar opposite. Like I am a strong advocate for fathers, but guess what that means to me? That means that not only do I think that you should have the same amount of rights that I have to my kid, but I feel like you should have the same amount of responsibility. And if you're not taking that part, then that's where we have a problem. Like that's where the disconnect is. Like that's the only place that the disconnect is. Like my husband will tell you, like we don't parent the same. Like we have two totally different parenting styles. But I respect what he does and he respect what I do. And sometimes we meet in the middle, and sometimes we be like, we got totally different ideas. But guess what? I still know that he isn't doing anything to harm my child, right? And that's their relationship. That's how that's gonna work out, and vice versa. And it's like, I just think that's what I try to challenge a lot of men to think of. Think about how to be a better parent. You should prioritize your kid. You can't let me see you prioritizing all of these other things and treating your kid as an option, but then complaining about you not having as many rights to your kid when this woman is over here prioritizing that kid. Yep. If they're prioritizing the kid, then yeah, they should have more say so. If you just doing, you know what I'm saying? If you making it convenient for you, right? Like if you have set your life up in a way that you're making your kid convenient as opposed to a priority, then how do you feel like you're supposed to get the same level of say so as someone who's prioritized your child? Like that's crazy to me. And so like that's the only point that I always, but they be like, I'm like, no, I'm saying to you, prioritize your children. Like go higher. Like I say, take them to the doctor's appointments. Know who their teachers are. Like be involved, and then you could, be, whatever. But it's like you just want the benefit without the work.
Yeah, some men and women have that mindset that men babysit their kids.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all men or women, but there are a lot of people who think like that. I saw a meme, and I think I saved it. I gotta find it one day and show it, because it wasn't a meme. It was a screenshot of a girl who said that she holds her man down. She supports her man. When she pays him to
Pay him to babysit his child. I saw that. I was like, what
in the world? This is strange.
It's crazy.
And
I remember
like,
when
fathers are very, very important, but that means that you have to actively be engaged in your child's life. You can't.
I remember when
you
our
can't wear
daughter.
the armor but not really fight the battle. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
Go
I
ahead.
remember when our daughter was maybe, how old was they when I took her out of town?
Like 3 months.
Maybe about 3 months, and I took her out of town by myself. First time she got on a plane, and everything, and people was at, oh, she let you come. She didn't let me do anything. For one, this is my daughter.
Right.
Like I didn't have to ask permission to bring my daughter out of town. This is just what I'm gonna do. I'm comfortable with taking care of a newborn and stuff like that. Like I don't understand why. I don't. It's just puzzling to me. Like these dudes, like she said, they want all these rights, they want all this say so, but they don't do half the stuff that these women do. Like I just got into a debate with a woman. I said, I don't think men should get equal rights as soon as the baby is born. I don't agree with that. She was like, because they should get equal rights as soon as the baby born, like we do. I said,
oh yeah.
I said, nah, I don't agree with that. They should, because you've been taking care of this baby for 9 months. Ain't nothing equal about that. It's never equal at all. How many times this man did not birth a baby. He has to deserve to get equal rights. And then she just tried to go with the one-offs about, because it's women that's crackheads and this and that. Like, talking about like that 1% of women who abandon their kids at the hospital. The courts are set up for the majority of women that are getting left stranded to raise babies by themselves, and the men got to get hunted down to even take a paternity test and all this other stuff. So I understand why these men just, it's easy to just go down to the courthouse and get your rights. I'm one of those people, like, you can't tell me, oh, I do this and I do that and they didn't give me rights. Nah, I know all about the court system, buddy. They giving rights. If you're not a crackhead, you ain't done nothing to harm that baby, they give you your basic rights, visitations at least. Yeah. You did some other stuff, to not get the rights.
No, people were freaking out when he took the baby out of town. Like, I didn't, but that's what's so funny. Like, I didn't even think about it twice. Like, I didn't think anything about it. Like, I can't remember like what was going on. Maybe I had to work or something. I don't know. But it was like, oh, okay. And it's like literally thinking nothing about it. And like, I was talking to like family members and stuff, and they'd be like, I was like, yeah, he took baby to. And they're like, what? By himself? What's going on? I was just like, yeah. Like, I was like, what is happening? But it was like, that's when I realized how odd that is to people. I guess especially if both the parents are still together. I guess it may be a little different if the people like aren't together at all, maybe. But I was just like, yeah, like, why wouldn't he take it's his baby? I don't get it. Like, I expect him to be just as responsible for this baby as I am. And to Ashley's point, with my first son, he has a sister that's 1.5 years older than him, that's by his dad. To her point about men thinking that they babysit children, when I had my son and I had to go to work one day, his daughter was there, and this man told me he couldn't babysit 2 kids at once.
Say what now? Wait, what?
He told me, I say, you gotta take the baby. I gotta go to work. He said, my daughter here, I can't watch 2 kids at once. I can't. I'm like, but you have 2 kids at once. I was so confused. Like, that blew my mind. Like, I did not understand what was happening. But it's that mindset. It's that, like, but I never would have considered that even being somebody's mindset. You know what I mean? Like, it was not even a reality to me. But yeah, he literally was like, nah. I was like, I can't watch 2 kids. Yeah. I was like, boy, bye. That baby was right over there. But he said it though.
But back to the like a lot of. So I know my wife probably got this question a lot. Like, well, you probably didn't get it, but I've gotten it. Like, men that ask me, like, so do she try to run things because she makes she's the breadwinner and this and that, and like I know it happens. I know women try to walk over men and dog men out and stuff like that at age because they're making them the bulk of the money. But my wife has never came to me like, she never tried to put me out and shame me for making more money. She actually just, when she made more money, that was like, once I go back to work and start back hustling, I'm gonna make more money than her. And then after that, I want her to make more money than me. And then I want to come back and make more money than her. It's like this how we go play that. It's never like, yeah, you ain't nothing. I'm making more money than you. No, that's just a motivation for me to make more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, she never really, money was never an issue. It never came up. She never tried to outboss me or whatever the case may be, or how these men be acting like if you stay at home and a woman works, they somehow are less of a man. She never made me feel less of a man. And that's probably one of the bigger reasons why men don't do it, because I know, because men do that to women. So of course they don't want to feel like that. Like, men making the money, so they feel like they're the boss. So naturally they're going to feel like if she start making more money than me, she's going to start treating me like that. Like, and they don't want that.
Yeah. So it's sometimes so exaggerated. Sometimes it's not the woman that's being, like high and mighty and acting like she's superior. It's you and your insecurity. And I have seen it like in my life with a few different guys, like not guys that I was dating, but like people that I just know, and they would be telling me these stories. And I'm like, but you were with this woman for 8 years. So it couldn't have been that bad, And so, like, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden it was like she was acting this way and she was acting that way. I'm like, no, like, I think it was just a little of your insecurity. And a lot of times people, when they break up with people, they gotta find something negative to say, about that person. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's that one thing that they're gonna say was the issue. But I'm like, but you were with them for all this time. It wasn't an issue then, like, it's just made up to me.
I'm binge watching New York Undercover again. Y'all remember that show, New York Undercover?
Yeah. With Malik, what's his name?
Yeah, Malik Yoba.
Raven's so young. She like, nah, I don't know what that is.
Oh my god! Hey, Ray, you gotta watch it. It's just like Power and stuff like
y'all
that.
Y'all have me Googling shows every week. Okay, I got a list because y'all crazy. Y'all got a million shows.
It was a big show back in the day. Like, it was a good show. Watch it. And back then, I didn't understand it, but I'm binge watching now, and the misogyny of this show is just crazy. Like, I'm like, God, Lee, this they could never did this now. Aired this show the way they aired it back then. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. But
do you think a lot of ideas that men have come from stuff like that, like stuff that they more so than maybe even stuff that they've experienced?
He's dating his lawyer. He's a cop. He's dating his lawyer. She's making all this big money, going like these dinners and stuff like that. He's feeling insecure about it, He goes to a dinner with her, and like one of the guys that she's talking to that works at the firm with her, he's dressed in a suit, stuff like that, and he's immediately jealous, immediately insecure. Oh, and he walks off and leaves her at the party by herself and stuff like that. Like, the bougie little boyfriend, this and that. Like, dude didn't do nothing, say nothing to him at all. He just up there having a nice conversation, tried to shake his hand, everything. He just went off. Like, this little bougie. Like, and it's that what I see today in these guys when they have these women that's making good money and they learning things, and they educated, and they go into these events and they talking, and a lot of men be like, oh, you think you smart, you think you know something, you don't know nothing, and this and that. They want to down them because they've elevated themselves. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of men don't like that when a woman can speak for themselves and they can look good by themselves. Men always think that they have to make the woman look good, like, you're nothing without me. No, I just like a woman that can look good and be educated all on her own. I don't. These dudes always talking about power couples and this and that, but they don't even know what it takes to be a power couple because they won't let the woman get any power. They don't want the woman to have no power. So how you gonna be a power couple?
And I know that there are women out there who do parade their degrees or their jobs around like they're better. So I wouldn't just completely discount that possibility.
But I think that the women who would do that would fall in line with people who do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people it's not like who put other people down. I
agree. It's not a woman thing. And I think that a lot of men are just kind of like, they're the ones that they're insecure about it, and they're projecting that off onto women. That's why you can't hear a woman, you can't celebrate a Black woman's success without somebody trying to throw a jab in it. Like, and this, we got to have a discussion about this. There's a video that I watched from a YouTuber, and she was bringing up, women with their degrees, and she just made a point that she just made a point to say, well, women are getting all these degrees in our community, but they have more debt, and they're living outside of their means, and they're this and they're that. And I'm just like, but it's so different when we talk about men who have degrees. When we talk about men who are doctors and lawyers and engineers, we don't bring up the fact that they have debt. We don't bring up the fact that, they might be living outside of their means, trying to, portray a certain image. We don't make an issue out of that, as though when you're a man and you go to school to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, or whatever, your debt just automatically disappears. Like,
But then the question becomes too, like, what are they advocating for? Like, what is the alternative? You know what I mean? Like, what are they advocating for? If you're gonna say, oh, you got all these degrees, okay, so what are you saying should be happening instead? Like,
right.
I'm just,
so I should
okay, so my skin just crawled because I'm really tired of people not taking personal responsibility in how they react to the behavior of others. Like, I'm not gonna not talk about how hard I worked in college, or not talk about if I'm hypothetically speaking, if I'm currently a student. I'm not going to minimize who I am and my present or past experiences to make you feel comfortable in the conversation. I'm not going to do that anymore. Been down that road with some Black people before, didn't work out well for me. Not doing it anymore. Notice I said Black people, because to me it's not a man woman issue. Although you got a lot of men who, like what Ashley was saying, oh well, a lot of women do parade their degrees around. Is it that we're parading? Because even if they are, what control do you have over a woman who is parading her degrees around? Your focus needs to be on, how do I respond to this so that I don't let it get to me internally. Like, people need to start checking their own thought process and stop worrying about something that they have no control over, which is what comes out of somebody else's mouth. Yeah. Like, you have 0% control over what people say and do, but you got 100% control over how you respond to it. And I think that if the manosphere and any other spheres want to talk about something, they need to talk about challenging their thought processes and realizing what's within their control and what's out of their control. Because if a woman like that's just like if me, Ashley, and Cannon were like at a lounge or somewhere, and this woman is consistently bringing up in conversation with us all the degrees that she has. We're comfortable in who we are as women. Ashley is an educator. I'm a therapist. Cannon, you're comfortable with your career that you do. We're comfortable in who we are. So if she's parading around her degrees in the conversation, we're not going to be like, why she got to lead with degrees? We're not going to do that, because we're comfortable with who we are on the inside. And I think that men need to find a way to get comfortable with who they are on the inside and stop putting this as yet another 300,000 things Black women do, we need to make you feel comfortable in conversation.
I'm glad you said all of that too.
It's time out for all of that. Like, go get some therapy, go get a life coach, go get some counseling, and stop expecting every exchange you have with a Black woman be, oh, she need to be my life coach in this moment, and refrain from talking about A, B, C, and D because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Man,
I want to hear what you have to say, but real fast, like 5 seconds. I have a friend who recently got married, and I mean, her husband's great and all that, but before he proposed, she was like, I'm not going to tell him, that I have a house, and I share that same sentiment. I don't even want to tell men sometimes that, you know, I have something going on, because it's like, and I mean, I really should use it as a weeding out thing, but it's like you almost can't do that, because then it's going to make the man feel like, oh, well,
he makes himself feel that way. That's what I'm saying.
She don't need me. And I'm like, well,
he makes himself feel that way. It ain't got nothing to do with what we telling these guys. It's got everything to do with the internal work that they are not doing on themselves. Like, seriously. Like, we need to have a whole show about Black men and mental health. Round up Darwin and some of his crew and talk about it, because listen, like, I need y'all to get, I need Black men to, it's okay for you to work on your inner self and identify your triggers and be able to say, oh, you know, that bothers something inside of me, versus why she got to leave with that.
And I mean, you know, really, that's what I was gonna say. I don't. I have to. If I leave out this part, I would be lying to everybody and making it seem like everything was just so glamorous with me staying at home and this and that, because there was a lot of internal things that I had to deal with myself, especially when, you know, close friends was talking about me and stuff like that. You know, and the only way I got through it, because my wife didn't disrespect me. Now, if my friends was talking crazy and then my wife came home and downing me and degraded me, then I probably would have had a problem with the whole situation. But because she was not that type of woman, and because, you know, I had some type of confidence in myself and I knew who I was, I didn't have all that stress on me to, you know, try to step up and go outside of what we had planned. You know, we had a plan and we stuck to it, and I didn't let no outside people steer me from that. And she aided in that, you know, because there's plenty of times that I just was at home, like she said, and it's like, man, you know, man, she's making more money than me, you know, how am I looking to the people on the outside, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, it's because, you know, I just stuck to my guns, and I had a good woman that made me feel comfortable, and, you know, I trust her over those dudes anyways, you know what I'm saying? So if everything was good in-house, then everything was good. But I'm pretty sure, you know, when the outside world is looking at you a certain way, and then your close friends looking at you a certain way, even family too, and then your woman those other two, and then you go be like, you know what, you know, I can't do this, you know. And there's plenty of times that, you know, I was at my point where, you know, it was just like, nah, I gotta go work, you know what I'm saying? This is crazy, you know. Yeah. But you know, it was a struggle, you know. But
look what happened.
You get through those types of things.
Because you got men out there who got opinions and they don't even know what their kid teacher name is, or they don't know what their favorite color is, or, you know, look at the benefits of what you did, because now your daughter is going to remember that for the rest of her life, that it wasn't just my mom carrying this load, like my mom had help. And what is it that the manosphere always preaching? We want healthy Black families. Well, think about it like this. If you're raising a child and the child sees that they're part of a team, a unit where everybody contributes, most likely when they grow up, guess what? They're going to want to build a healthy Black family where what? Everybody is contributing. Not this whole she do this and I do this, and why she got to bring up her degrees. I'm sorry. I'm still on that.
It was bad. I had people thinking that they was dissing me by saying, "Oh, look at you what you know, you a family man." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
That's a
what they were really saying was, I'm gonna pick on you because in reality, I'm a messed up parent. So in order for me to avoid me dealing with that, I got to tell you how weak you are for staying home with your daughter.
Yeah,
it's classic avoidance. I'm sorry, I'm getting all therapeutic, but seriously, like when you sit down and talk to people all day and they start projecting their stuff onto other people, what I'm finding out and what I've been finding out, it has little to do with how Black women are carrying themselves, and it has a lot to do with how they are internalizing certain things, when really you should just work on yourself, because that's the self you have control over. That's the human you have control over in this scenario, not what's coming out of this Black woman's mouth.
Yeah, so that's what I was about to add to the scenario that you brought up about if we were talking to somebody and they was bringing up their degrees or whatever. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, the first thing I'm gonna think, because like I say, I don't have a degree. it's getting through school for me. Maybe one day I will make it, but
you're gonna do it.
It's very difficult. But for other people who have, especially for women, for people who look like me, I love when they toot their home. I be like, shoot, somebody did it. Thank you. Like, because I know how difficult it is for me. And also, a lot of us are first generation having anything.
Exactly.
First generation accomplishing anything. I know, like, a lot of my close family and friends or whatever, like, I was like, we didn't grow up with a silver spoon in our mouth. Like, we grew up in the hood. So we know how much work and how much effort and how much fight it took to get out of that environment and to accomplish anything. So how you gonna admonish somebody for being proud of what they accomplished when everybody can't even accomplish it? When it's people who did grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth and still haven't even accomplished anything. So it's like, how do you take that as to be like, why are you doing it? Because people are proud. Like, they should be able to be proud.
We talked about how, we have to, when Janelle was on the show, we talked about this. We were like, a lot of us are first and second generation college graduates. Our ancestors were fighting, like risking their lives on the lines, out on the front lines, fighting for us to be able to do what we're doing. And whether you think college is the answer or not, they fought for this. And there was a reason they fought for it. College educated people to make $1 million more than those who don't. In most cases, we have debt, but we over time make more money. There's a reason why our ancestors wanted us to go to college back in the day, and even still to this day. College does afford you certain opportunities. I couldn't be a teacher had I not gone to college. I couldn't be an assistant principal had I not gone to college. You couldn't be a doctor, an engineer, an architect. There are a whole lot of jobs that you can't have unless you decide to go to college. And that is not saying you have to go to college and you have to choose these careers that require college. That's not what it's saying. But people have the right to do what they want to do with their lives. And our ancestors fought for this right. And so it's just so ridiculous to me that we're in 2022 and people are acting like, oh, these Black women going to college, they using the white system against the Black man. And it's just so ridiculous to me, because my grandfather and my dad would have never, said that. You know what I mean?
Never.
They encourage me. So I agree with you, Jogo, that a lot of it is stemming from,
if you somebody baby daddy, unmarried, in your 8th relationship, you got all these kids everywhere, and you have not completed more than 1 semester of college because you chose not to, because your actions led you to not focus in school, just say that. That's it. That's it. That's all of it. If we gonna keep it real, let's keep it real. People are projecting their failures and how they feel about themselves onto other people. And then there's this cycle of, because Black women already, we need to be strong, but we too strong. You need to be educated, but why you got all these degrees? Like, it's already that. So don't come to me with that when you had the same opportunity I had, but no, you chose something different. So
no, that concept though, Ashley, where they bring that up is crazy to me too. When they're like, because the white man is using you against us, they're allowing you to succeed and all that other stuff. Now, like I say, the way that I operate in my relationship, right, as a partnership, and I understand that, and my husband also understands, we're doing this thing together. Like, we are, like, it requires both of us to be together on the same page to accomplish one goal, right, together. So it's like, my thing is, if that's even what you think, that, let's say, okay, white supremacy has allowed us to succeed. Why aren't you jumping on this train with us? Why are you so stuck in your head that you're like, no, forget that. You got to come back down over here and struggle with me. Like, what? No. Like, why wouldn't you be more willing to be like, okay, well, if this is an inroad, like, they didn't let somebody foot in the door, let me come on in here with you. It's like, why isn't that the mindset? Why is even if that's what you think, like, we are supposed to be like your family. So it's like, why are you like, they they let you do this. Like what?
But you know the projection is real.
It is.
And you are so invested in somebody else's choice. For instance, if a person did not choose to go to college, for instance, when we were graduating high school, right? Some people decided to go to college and some people didn't, right? I was not invested in so-and-so's choice not to go to college.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But for some reason, people are so invested in Black women's choice to go to college. And I'm like, but it has nothing to do with you. We didn't do this for you. We did this because we thought that it would help us in our future. But they are so invested in telling us, well, you did the wrong thing. You picked college over men. And I'm just like it's
I literally had a dude.
why are you so invested in why I chose to go to college as though it affects you? That's nothing to me. It's
because technically it kind of does, because you do know that when they say relationships with people are not at the same educational level and then like the same socioeconomic status don't tend to last as long. The ones when people are more kind of equally educated and equally in the same kind of social status, those relationships last longer. So it may be something that does affect some of them if their college enrollment and things like that is going down and ours is going up. It may be something that affects them, but instead of enrolling more in college and getting more educated, it's like they stop going to college. It's like, no, that's not smart.
I literally had a dude tell me that you were smart, Miss Jovo, because you went to college, you found your husband, but then you got your education too. And I had to school him and say, let it be known and very clear that when I started dating Mosley, after everything I had been through in my life, a college degree was not an optional. It was going to be imperative that I graduated from college, whether I think when I did graduate, I had been married for like almost a year then. And I tell anybody this all the time. Had not my husband played a big part of me finishing school, period. Financially, supportive, all of that. On the days where I didn't want to go to class, I wanted to goof off. And we had been, he was just like, hey, like for real, you gonna, like he held me accountable for finishing my degree.
He probably told you that because he know many times a woman's downfall is mostly a man. So he probably was like saying that because a lot of these women, they be having everything going for themselves except for that man, and they get that man and they just be like, God damn, I thought you was supposed to do this, I thought you were supposed to do that. And they got with this little bum and they just held them back. Right. But you got a man that held you up. So and
his family, mind you, like my mother-in-law, oh my God, I remember days where I was so broke in college, like so broke, where he has fed me, his stepfather fed me, gave me money, my mother-in-law. Like I had a lot of support from my husband's family on like finishing school, period. But see, I'm starting to realize that a lot of people also project their trauma onto you. They think because everybody else did them wrong in their lives, that when they see a similar situation with a different person, oh, this is what's going to happen to you. And why you prioritizing your education? You better do this, this, and this. And it's like, first of all, your first mistake was thinking we the same person. Because we're not. That's it. We're not the same people. You cannot control my choices, my actions. You can't do that. Like, focus on why you're responding the way you're responding to me being college educated. That's what
So how much money, Ashley, how much money you got to make your husband stay at home?
I don't know.
You stupid.
No, I'm saying because it's some guys are domestic and stay at home fathers because they have to be because they was almost homeless if they don't be, right? So what I'm saying is like if you was making $3 million, would you think you'd be like, you know what? You can stay at home with the kids.
I think I'm gonna be honest. I like
your mindset to change.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I like
a man to work.
I like a man that will work. Yeah, I do. Now, I'm saying it's different if we're going through a period like you guys did, where it just makes sense, right? Like I used to know a couple where the dad was getting his PhD, and that's why he stayed home. and the woman was working, it made sense for them at that time. But I don't want a man that's just going to spend the rest of his life not working. Like,
If my wife is making $1 million a year, I'm not working. I'm telling you that right. I'm just not going to work.
Look at Tab Brown. Look at Tab Brown. Tab Brown got on her Instagram or YouTube channel and said, today is a special day. I finally get to retire my husband. Like, this has been a dream of his. He's gonna, because he was a law enforcement officer. And it all came out. Remember when Wendy Williams made those comments about how she's stupid for doing that or whatever? And now you see what Wendy at. Now you see what Tab at. But that's beside the point. But Tab was adamant about this is part of our vision, our plan as a married couple, and they went through with it. And I see them on social media. Tab now is fulfilling her dream and breaking into Hollywood, acting. Her husband, I think, is like, managing some of her affairs and starting his own business and working with a nonprofit. Like, I tell Mosley all the time, let us mess around and hit the lotto. People just gonna have to talk. I'm sorry. Like, I might still do some therapy. I might still do some little counseling or whatever, but we're gonna be traveling.
I mean, I think
you don't want to work on cars no more. You don't have to. That's okay.
I think that the point is at the end of the day, everybody gotta, like, you can't, you the only two people that's in your household, in your relationship. Like, you can't be trying to live up to other people's expectations of what your relationship's supposed to be. Because like, only you the one who have to live with your choices. You the one who have to live with your spouse. Like, people have so much stuff to say, but they going home to where they going home to, or they going to wherever they go. So why would you be driving yourself crazy or worrying about what's going on in your house based on what somebody else thinks? Because one thing I will tell you that I know for a fact, you don't know what's going on in them other people's houses. And it's not all roses. I know that for a fact, right? So it could be some things going on in their house that you would never want.
When you get your millions, do what you've been doing. Hide it. If you got your big house, don't let them know you got the big house, because I'm telling you right now, he gonna be like, hey, you a millionaire? Shit, I ain't going. I quit.
All right, we had Rush backstage. He just left. I don't know what happened. I think he was waiting for a while. I don't know. But come on back, Rush, if you want to join us on screen. We'll see. I'm gonna put it back up in the chat. If there's anybody else who wants to join us, go ahead, call in, or you can join our live stream.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk about your
but that's what I was saying. Like, I don't
talk about your degrees. This is a safe space.
I just know that everybody is different and everybody is different people. Everybody else is going to have different ideas of what works and doesn't work for them. So I just can never measure myself by other people's situations, because everything is a double-edged sword. You may have one thing this way, but then it may be something different that don't jive with me. So it's like, I just can't do it. I have to do what I feel is best for my life at any given time, because I'm the only one who got to live in it. The only one.
Yeah. I agree. I think we spend too much time telling people what should be done, where everybody needs to do what's best for them. Everybody is not the same. Like, when will we realize that? I know men who are not into traditional roles, and they're very masculine men. Like, I know several men who are like that, but they're masculine men. They work, they do very well. Like, they ain't no wuss. They, you know what I mean? Like,
they're secure with their inner self.
Right, but they don't believe in gender roles, right? So, or they are just kind of like not so tied to them, right? Like, they'll probably open up the door for you, you know what I mean? Because you're a woman, right? But it's like they're not so tied to it.
Those are probably more emotionally intelligent people. Generally, emotionally intelligent people, like, the more they are higher on that, the better they can just pick up on social cues and just know what things make sense.
They're highly successful individuals. Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, I thought that he was gonna come back. I don't know how long you were waiting, but hopefully you can come back. We might go ahead and close out. But yeah, I had a good show though. We had fun. Welcome to the ladies' room. This is our new night. We started, On Tuesday nights, we move to Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Yep. And we talk about it all, y'all, in the ladies' room. We talk about, marriage, dating, love. We talk about, like today, fertility. We talk about a lot of social issues. We talk about it all. So come visit us every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Raven, Mrs. Understanding, we haven't heard from you. Did you want to add something to the conversation? I don't leave anybody out. And if there's anybody out there who wants to join our live stream, go ahead. Now is the time to do it because we're about to wrap up in a little bit.
I think everybody said some awesome things. Keep it up. Actually, I was quiet because I was screen grabbing Miss Jovo monologue. That thing was fierce. Okay. Later on tonight, no act surprise because I was saving it while you were talking. But yeah, you guys are on point tonight.
All righty now.
Raven's gonna watch your homework. So BET has started replaying New York Undercover. Your homework Friday night, 9 p.m.
2 episodes back to back.
Of Malik Yoba.
So I know I'm watching the right one because I don't want to watch a remake.
Darwin, it's the attempt of co-parenting on the show for me from Malik Yoba. Like when you said that.
You was just talking about that. He talked about that too. He talked about the dynamic of their relationship.
I heard him.
Let me tell y'all this. The last episode I watched, he was doing undercover at a high school, right? And the little girl was flirting with him. And at the end of the show, he told this little girl, he said, "Girl, if you was 5 years older," I was like, "Whoa!" I said, "Whoa!" What? I said, "No, you can't. What's going on?" She was in high school.
Hey, that's before R. Kelly got canceled.
Yes, he said that. I said, "What is going on?" We used to watch this. So now you can like kind of see like how okay it was back in the day for them to even put it on TV like that, and people watching it and just letting the kids know that it's okay for these old men to be flirt and talking to these little girls.
Malik Yoba looks so young, guys. I'm on Google, guys. This must have came out like a while ago. He looks so young.
And then Eddie, they got the woman that came to work with him, and he flirting with the woman. But like that's you can't do that, bro.
Before Me Too, before all of it, there was.
But I think that does indicate to us what I've been saying, like about how drastically society is changing because of technology in a very short period of time. Like usually, I've noticed huge differences in culture over like it'd have to be like a movie from like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, right? And then be like, oh, this is a totally different culture. But movies from like the 80s and it was like, oh, okay, like it was all the kind of same culture. But now, like that wasn't even that long ago. And it's like we have drastically shifted where we are as a culture in such a short
Watch this movie called The Duel. Is it The Duel, babe? I told you to watch. And this woman have 3 different perspectives on this woman getting raped. Her perspective, her husband's perspective, and the dude who raped her perspective. And it's like, I was like,
what movie?
They had a strict no rapey movies policy. Sorry.
You gotta watch it. It was really good.
That's interesting because it shows the different perspectives. Yeah. That reminds me of this show on Netflix. I just learned about it like yesterday. It's called Who Do You Believe? And they show 2 different perspectives on the same story, And it's like, well, who do you believe? And they absolutely have and it's like, part of it is true, but one person has one version and the other person has another version.
Yeah.
And it's like in that era where
it's like the facts of it is true, but the way that they're perceiving it is what you're trying to figure out whose perception is more close. Yeah.
It was in the century. The movie I'm talking about was in the century where the wife could not say she got raped unless the husband vouched for her. That's how much of they viewed the women as like property. So if the husband didn't come forth to say my wife got raped, it just wasn't no rape. It just was like then nothing happened, because she had to ask her husband like, "Are you going to like back me when I go and accuse this man of rape?" And he was like, "Yeah, like he really didn't believe her." But it was one of those, y'all just gotta watch it. It's a good movie.
I think it's called. I just looked it up.
Like Imitation of Life that they show every Mother's Day. The little with
Yeah.
really old movie.
Had with Hattie Mae Daniels.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
I think she won an Oscar for Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. How they portrayed the white boyfriend of the white woman in the movie. Like Mr. Steve was solving problems left and right. Like if you had a problem, Mr. Steve. And it's like, oh, she the single black mom. No, not black then. She the single colored mom with the half-breed child. Like just
Oh yeah, I used to always like to watch super old movies like that because when you watch art and listen to art and different things like from different time periods, you can put your finger on the culture. Exactly. And so I love to watch movies because it's like, wow, this was acceptable. But that's why I don't understand why sometimes we take so long with just adjusting and just realizing like just because you grow up a certain way don't make it right. You know what I mean? Exactly. Because I mean,
yeah. and this, I don't want to keep us too long, but I've been forced to teach my children about ancient Greece, y'all.
I know, right?
So I'm teaching them about ancient Greek mythology, but a lot of the mythology is, it's reflective of the societal norms. And back in ancient Greece, I'm talking like 450 BCE, there were these beliefs about men and women. The women were seen as property. The women could not vote, hold office, except for in one particular city-state, which was called Sparta, right? These women were able to fight. They were able
300, baby.
Certain things outside of the home. But in most of the, the Greek city-states, that was not the case. And it's just almost comical to hear men in 2022 with the same type of ideology that women are supposed to just be in the home. They shouldn't be doing anything else. They are property of men, that they, can't think for themselves, that they, even with the whole issue of rape, like if a woman had to be validated by her husband, if she accused somebody of rape. And it's like there's such these ingrained doctrine. And a lot of my students are like, what? Even the boys, some of them are a little questionable. They've been got that one, you can tell what type of man he's been around. But most of them are just kind of like, this is crazy. What are you talking about?
My favorite movie is 300, and because the guy, his wife was talking to the guy, and the guy looked at her like, what makes you think you can talk to a man that way? And she was like, because only Spartan women give birth to real men. So, you know what I'm saying? And then when he came, he started talking crazy, and what's his name? The king. King Leonidas looked at his wife like, hey, I'm about to kick it off. Is it cool, babe? And she was like, yeah, go ahead. And he was like, he kicked him down the thing. That was my part. Like, it goes to show you, like that's how a relationship's supposed to be. Like, it ain't no, I run things like, hey, babe, we about to go to war. You cool? What's about to happen? Because it
affects everybody.
It was more about like, hey, when I kick this nigga down when I kick dude down this hole, it's about to be a war. And when we go to war, I'm about to lead a home. Can you hold this down?
Right.
That's
because this is going to affect you too. Right. Exactly.
And she was like, gave him that nod, like, yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Like, that movie's so cold.
But that's true. That's what I say. But that is supposed to be how relationships are. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what. But my thing is you can't spend so much time focusing on trying to hope other people are going to be a certain way. Why don't you start with you being a certain kind of way? Like, that's all I'm saying. That's what drives me crazy. I'm like, pay more attention, because then you're going to attract, or either, okay, you can attract, you can influence, you can do a lot of things. But if you're not spending time, figuring out who you need to be in order to attract what you're saying you want to have, then like, what are you doing? Like, but that's what is spending too much time. Like, come on now. Like, spend that time being who you need to be, and not just, like you say, making money and no. What kind of person are you? Period.
And you can always tell what type of man and woman a person is by what they complain about.
Yes.
And men don't realize that
Telling
we
on
think the
themselves.
same way. Yes.
That's
Like,
it.
remember when women were complaining, some women still do it, complaining about men cheat and he lazy and he don't want to work and he, you know, all these things. It's like you're telling that these are the men that you
That you're with,
or that you are attracting and accepting in your life. For some reason, men, you know, detach that thought. They don't realize that when you're up here on these podcasts talking about women who, you know, yelling all the time and cussing you out and don't let you talk and got friends that do this and do that, like you're telling on yourself. Like,
because they don't
know what type of woman you're used to, and it's likely because it's the type of woman that you attract.
But that's so funny because they're so steeped in it
Exactly.
that they think that that's everybody's experience. They don't understand that that's not everybody's experience. So it's like it is a situation where people, and that's always funny when people will say certain things and it is just but they think it's normal. Like they be like, yeah, guys always, you know, throwing you out the window, you know, and just doing this, and you just be like,
they always slashing your tires.
Right? You just be like,
they don't.
Right.
Yeah,
like what's going on at your house because that don't go on in my house.
Like that's not. I don't.
That's actually
just
like the guy that came up here and was like, "My timeline is filled with half-naked women." Yeah, your timeline. Like,
that's your timeline. You
my timeline is filled with half-naked women because I'm not following a bunch of half-naked women. Like,
it reminds me of a post that a girl made, right? And it went viral. This girl was like, man, you know, never depend on a man because you can't depend on no man and blah, 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 blah. And another woman came on and was like, sis, no, you can't depend on your man because I can depend on my man. You know, and it's just the same thing, but men don't think like that when it comes to themselves. Like,
they don't think they be telling because they don't do enough. They're not socialized to do enough self-reflection. We're more socialized to self-reflect more, and we're also more socialized because probably of the environment, culture, tradition, whatever. But we're more socialized to be more aware of where we are in relation to everyone else. Like but they
y'all gotta know how to get on board with what we got going on.
We're always the ones judged for being single, you know. We're always the ones that are like have to explain why you're single. And we're gonna do a whole show about, you know, this segment that the lead attorney did with I think her name is Suzette or something. And they were like, he was drilling her about being single as though she owed anybody an explanation about why she's single. And all the guys in the chat, and including him, was just trying to like decipher why she was single. And it just had to be because there's something wrong with her. There's something, you know, she's pretty, she's this, she's that. There's something must be wrong with her. You know what I mean? And so singlehood is always put on the women to explain away. You know what I mean? But with men, they don't have that. So it's just, they don't even think like that.
Because it goes back to the whole property thing. A woman's value is only seen as valuable as to her relation to a man.
With somebody.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Greece. Like all the way back to
that's what I was gonna say. You look at kings when the wife isn't bearing any children, they just get a new wife. It doesn't even cross their mind that maybe this old drunk king can't, you know, maybe he's shooting dust. But they rotate out 3, 4, 5 wives. Eventually, he gets another one. We don't even know technically if that's his child or not. But you know, that's neither here nor there. But I think they put so much onus on the women because, like you said, it's a avoiding thing to, I guess, deflect from self-reflection. Which brings me to my point about singleness. Considering the Godfather passed, you know, it was so unfortunate. But it seems like it's so much talk about why it was okay for him to be single and he was supposed to be single, you know, this and that. But then in the same breath, y'all are trash because you're single and you're unmarried and all these things. So it's just, I think it's just an easy way to avoid self-reflection.
And it just seems backwards, even if you think about it numerically, because as they remind us often, there are so few of them compared to us. you know, when you consider birth rates, when you consider, you know, mortality rates, when you consider, you know, available men, you know, who are, you know, not incarcerated and who, you know, are heterosexual, when you consider just numbers, and we talked about this before, we are at a disadvantage, right? And then we date inside of our race.
More than
They don't. So numerically, the odds are not in our favor. They're more so in their favor. So I'm like, well, why?
Which also contributes to
why are we asking all these upstanding men? Why are you single? You know what I mean? We don't.
But that's the thing. That's also another point that contributes to them not settling down and stuff like that, because it is in their favor. So that makes it so they don't have to compete as much. Right. So the other thing is that we just have to start acknowledging that we know that they know what they're doing. Yeah. And because they also know it. Like they know it. Like if you like, right, you know, there'll be certain guys, especially if they got anything going for them. Like, what's the first thing? Like, even like when I was still in Chicago back in the day, like the first thing a dude to say is like, because I got my own car and I got my own place. Yeah, I got a job.
What do you bring to the table? Because I can do
no. This is before they were saying all of that stuff. But what I'm saying is that they know. Yeah. That the numbers are stacked in their favor, because something as simple as I have a job, you're supposed to be impressed with it. You see what I'm saying? Which is like, I got a job too. Like, I got a car too. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're adults. Like, that's what you're supposed to have. But it's like, since they know that, like, they know that. And then don't let them really have something going, like you say, like be in college or you know, have some actual success and stuff like. Oh, then they really gonna act. You know what I mean?
Don't let them work for CTA or the post office.
because they know that the numbers are in their favor, so it's really not much of an incentive for them to, you know, really behave any different.
And not just the numbers, but the mindset of women. You know,
yep.
Women are, like, I remember a while back, that was what women were saying. He got to have a job. I'm like, why is this a recitation? Why is a job the standard here? Like, I remember this. Like, men used to have YouTube channels about this. You know how women were talking about how they need a man with a job and a 401k and a car. Like, that was it, right? That was all they had to have. So it's like the mindset of a lot of women is that I just need that, because some of them have been okay with less than that,
girl.
You know? And so a lot of them are like, man, this is a scarcity, and we got to stop thinking
like scarcity mindset. Absolutely, girl. Listen, no. When I came to Atlanta from Chicago, oh my God, like it was just a whole, like it's like it does take both parties, right? Because we do contribute to that environment as well, because there is a scarcity mindset, and then you get to acting desperate. And I'm telling you, like, coming from, like, the numbers are even more ridiculous here for how much we outnumber them here, right? And so, but it wasn't as bad in Chicago. It was probably more like close to 1-1 probably in Chicago. I don't remember having any type of scarcity mindset on guys in Chicago to be like, oh, I gotta get one. Like, it was, you know. And so guys would approach you more in Chicago. You know, it was, I never even thought about it. I got here to Atlanta. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I saw, like, women was like, they literally like fawn over guys. Like, they will pursue guys. Like, guys here will not approach women. Like, they expect women to approach them.
But that's a big reason why men don't elevate, because they figure, like just for instance, I know how effed up my wife's first husband was, right? If she dealt with that, that's on her. So if I was like a deadbeat or a bum dude, all I figure is I just got to be a little bit better than him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to do just a little bit more than him, and I'm good enough for her. But and a lot of women fall into that, like, you know, at least I got better than what I had. At least it's better. No, but the minimum was so low. Like, nah, you supposed to. You know, it just sometimes
some people are not aware of what some people are not aware of what their personal worth. They don't understand that
Yeah.
you don't have to live at status quo. Like, you deserve happiness. And yet again, those guys, when you start talking about emotions, they steer away from that too. Like, men are more logical and y'all lead with emotions, and that makes us smarter. And it's just
Oh
like,
my God, no, that is the
dude,
lie from the pits of hell if I ever heard one.
like,
It's the worst I ever told.
I'm wrong for wanting happiness. Like, and so,
but then they turn around and be like, men aren't allowed to have emotions and express feelings. And be like,
nobody cares about us.
But the problem is that you're expressing feelings, but you're projecting. You're hurting in the process. You're blaming. We have a little bit more experience with this. From early on, like, we deal with our emotions. But if you're a man or a boy, you haven't been taught that. People haven't invested enough time.
You were taught to push those emotions down.
Because, like, you tell children, like me, I tell my students all the time, it's okay to feel what you feel. All right. And you should express what you feel. But in expressing what you feel, you don't get to project. You don't get to hurt. You don't get to blame. And so you have a lot of these guys in these spaces who are expressing their feelings, but they don't realize that because they haven't really dealt with their feelings, intelligently and effectively, they're blaming and hurting. And that's why you got all these men out here justifying, using derogatory language to teach women. It's like, no, like, that's not even necessary.
They say they're not emotional, but then they become reactive and call a woman out her name. But she's not emotional.
No, because anger is not an emotion, remember?
And I've had a man tell me lust is an emotion. So I'm trying to understand, what is an emotion? I said, you feel with lust, you emotional too. What are you talking about?
That's a nut.
Like,
I'm scared to even ask. But yeah. But I agree. Russ couldn't come back. He has some issues with his phone, but he said he'll join us another time. I had a good time though tonight.
I did too. It was good. It was good. It's a good show. Good talk.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody who's out there listening to us in the ladies' room. We love to hear from you guys. So we need more callers, y'all. Y'all gotta start calling in. Don't be shy.
Don't be scared.
So just remember to like and subscribe and share with people, your family, your friends, even people who aren't even on YouTube. You never know, they might see this show and love it. So we talk about some of everything.
If we get enough callers, I sing.
I know you got an A and B selection in you. I know.
And he will. He already got the song picked out and everything.
He was looking at him. He's like, nah, I can do this better.
All we do is karaoke.
Okay.
There's a whole part of my house dedicated for just that. Like, you have more people. Like, what's the thing that will surprise everybody about your husband? He is the karaoke king. That is his nickname in our friend group. Like,
I gotta come to my birthday party.
That one dude that will carry around a microphone. Like, you literally, we about to break out in song. Like, hey, where the mic come from? Like,
yeah.
All right, y'all. I have fun.
Yep.
Good night. Bye-bye.